right, here we go. 1090 Jake, welcome back to VladTV.
What's up, bro?
Congratulations, you had a big trip. Went out to Europe with your girl, lived it up, I saw.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Of course, man, of course. Well, there's a lot to talk about, but we have to start with this whole Young Thug situation. And listen, Young Thug was talking on that phone like it wasn't being recorded in jail.
Yeah.
Like he had a private cell phone or something and no one else knew what he was talking about. Like, are you surprised that all of these leaks are coming out now?
I'm surprised because I've never heard it being done. Because it's like, who would really care about what somebody's talking about on a jail phone? Like, I know the police record it and they're going to listen if you say any crazy shit. I didn't know you could request it, though. You know what I mean? Because it's like, who's really going to, like, want to listen to what somebody's talking about with their girl, whatever. But they hit a gold mine with this shit.
Well, before these phone calls got released, there was an interrogation video where Young Thug was talking about the whole Peewee Roscoe Lil Wayne tour bus shooting situation.
Right.
Now, people are looking at this going, well, it seems like Young Thug is kind of snitching on Peewee.
Right.
What's your take on this?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to say too much because I haven't even made a video on this situation yet. But he said too much. There's a lot of things he shouldn't have been talking about. There's no reason for him to have sat there for 2 hours. And I'll say this, if I did it, they'd flat out say I'm a rat. But you know there's going to be selective politicking regardless. I know that something is standing out to me. The person that actually got the audio from the interrogation reached out to me when it originally happened. Nobody was saying anything that they're saying now back then. This isn't the first time that this has surfaced. It's just now everyone's capitalizing off of the situation. And I'm not sure why it's being viewed differently than how it was when it first came out.
Well, when did it first come out?
I think it was like a year ago, if not 2 years ago.
Huh.
Like, this isn't a new video. It's been on YouTube for a minute. Just nobody spun that narrative. And the thing is, bits and pieces of this interview are being clipped. When things aren't played in their entirety, you can make something look however you want it to, right? And when people don't understand the context of a situation, you can portray it to be whatever you want. So I would just say, I'm going to break this down fully. But one thing to pay attention to, aside from him making a promise and, oh yeah, take my number down, that's crazy. But as far as the shooting goes, he said he heard it was Peewee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're saying it was Peewee. But prior to him saying that, they're talking about the news and TMZ talking about Peewee. But if you clip that out and you just play what he's saying, it sounds like, oh yeah, I heard it on the streets, it was Peewee. When in all actuality, they're talking about, the news is saying he did it. I don't know if he did it. I'm not trying to get involved with y'all case, but I don't know that. So, for whatever reason, everybody's deciding to jump on him. He definitely said shit he shouldn't have. And the way he's trying to fix it, in my opinion, isn't working in his favor. He really should just stop talking about it. Because the interview he did when dude's really not pressing him on nothing, I've never even heard of that host, to be honest with you. I don't know who the fuck that was. So that just makes it seem like you got somebody that's going to be on your side to speak on it. Really, he should have sat down with you, me, somebody, academic, someone that's more, actually covering the situation, instead of just making it seem like you sat down with someone that's going to favor your side of the story. But,
Well, I know who he sat down with. That's a Big Bank. He has a podcast with my man DJ Scream called Big Facts. I'm very familiar with that podcast. Big Bank has been, a figure in Atlanta, so I don't want to just make it seem like this is just a nobody that came out of nowhere. He's been doing his thing in Atlanta. He's been a street guy for a while, and he's got a podcast that's well known, not the hugest podcast in the world, which is probably why it's not on your radar, but generally a well-known podcast. In fact, when I was in Atlanta a few weeks ago, I was actually supposed to do their podcast, but the timing wasn't right. And I think that Young Thug chose a guy that was sort of from the same environment as him and kind of grew up around the same time as him. He's a little bit older, but kind of understands where he's coming from. And he didn't even do it with the whole podcast crew. He did it specifically with Big Bank. So I'm not quite sure exactly what he meant to do, but I think the biggest problem here is that if Young Thug came out and said, listen, I was facing life in prison. I had to cooperate on certain things. I didn't get anyone arrested, but this is what I had to do. And if you choose to cooperate in your own way, if you're gonna or whoever else, that's fine. I understand it. But instead he came out with like, yo, Lil Baby, let's bash all these rats. You guys are a bunch of snitches. You're a snitch. Gunner's a snitch. Yakotti's a snitch. I'm the only non-snitch guy. I'm solid. I've never ratted. I've never snitched. I'm the poster boy of this. Everyone else are rats. And then you come out with a video like this.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem.
Well, he shot himself in the foot because the second you start standing on business like that, everyone's going to look into everything. And apparently they're even going to look into your jail calls. So it's like he kind of brought that on himself. The fact that damn near everybody in YSL told is crazy. But Thug isn't really keeping that energy with everybody, though, because his own brother, Funk, copped that same plea. So he did it to himself. And it is what it is at this point.
I mean, didn't he somehow cop a similar plea as well?
Who, Thug?
Yeah.
I don't know if Thug's plea had to do the whole yes, ma'am, and YSL's a gang and all that extra shit.
Hold on. Let me see what he pled guilty to. Young Thug. He entered a blind plea, a non-negotiated plea to 6 other charges and a no contest plea to the RICO charge and 1 gang charge. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit fuzzy. I mean, Brian Steele is obviously an expert in what he does, and he probably put it together a certain type of way. But
I mean, of course he's gonna put it together a certain type of way. Because at one point during the trial, they said that he sat down with an officer in the back of a police car and was talking about a murder, and Brian Steele was able to make it, so that never came up in court. You know what I mean? So there's been a lot of iffy shit that's come out. The thing about this is, though, there's no paperwork. It's literally him speaking. That's even worse. You know what I mean? Because it's like, homie, you didn't write it down. They didn't write it down. You can't say they lying. It came out of your mouth. And the only reason you got all this attention on you is because everything you just said about everybody else.
yeah, I mean, he accused Gunna, Duke, and Rollo of being real rats. Rollo started to respond like crazy. I mean, what exactly is Young Thug accusing Rollo of, and what exactly did Rollo do? I've always been a little confused about this part of the story.
I'm confused on this, too, because apparently Thug said in the interview he did with Banks, is his name? The host in Atlanta, Banks? I'm not trying to disrespect, I just don't...
Big Bank.
Right,
Big
so
Bank.
he said in that interview that Rollo was going to testify against him. Now, this doesn't make sense for a couple of different reasons. Rollo had a Fed case. Thug had a state case. And then they had the same lawyer, apparently. So that in itself would be a conflict of interest, no? How are you going to represent the person who's going to snitch against the other person you're representing? A lot of the shit didn't make sense, right? But Thug, at the same time, seems to be just putting out whatever he can to try to alleviate his situation. I personally think he has a PR team that's trying to get him to, you know, just like he said he was flirting with the cop. He wasn't trying to give his number because he ended up giving the number to the male cop who was in the room at the same time. How are you flirting with the female cop and there's a male present? That doesn't really make sense. He's not going to go for that. She said, I don't have your number. He said, you can give it to me. Then the audio goes out because he gives his number. So it's like, it's a tricky situation. As far as Rollo sat down and told him a bunch of bullshit that didn't go through. That was the Rollo case. End of story. He didn't cooperate on no fucking body. He had a dude hating on him in Atlanta that got exposed for having fake jewelry and everything else. And that was about it. But QCP got brought up too, though.
Yeah.
And he told. So it's like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I know that's Wack's man, and Wack gonna say whatever he want to, but at the end of the day, QCP says he ain't street. Wack says he ain't street. There's a piece of paper where QCP wrote to the police. He wrote a statement and signed it saying, I confronted so-and-so about a murder. He ran to his car and grabbed a gun and chased me into the mall. And it says, were you in fear for your life? And he wrote, yes, with an exclamation point. He signed off. If you ain't street, why are you confronting somebody about a body? And when they go and get their gun and chase you, why are you telling the police?
Yeah. A lot of these rules, man, like, honestly, I've said this. Me and Wack were talking about this in our last interview. I feel that if you are involved actively in crime, like this is your main source of income for at least 5 years, and you haven't done any real prison time, you've probably cooperated along the way to stay out of jail in one way or another. Whether you're giving statements to the police off the record, whether you have a cop friend that you're passing information to that's keeping you off people's radar, if you go in for an interrogation and you think that no one knows about it, at some point, the police and law enforcement are going to get to know who you are.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, law enforcement works with informants and cooperators. That's how the system works.
Right.
If you take all that away, the cops are just looking at each other going, we don't know what's happening.
Well, this is the thing too, right? You got a lot of people portraying like they're involved with shit when they're not. And then at the same time, you have people that will genuinely want to know what the fuck the police are talking about. So if you get pulled and they bring you into a room, I got put into an interrogation room. They never dropped it. Let me tell you why. I was in jail. They pulled me from my jail dorm, brought me down to medical, because that's where they have the interview rooms at Hillsborough County Jail. They brought me into a room. It's two dudes in suits. They sit me down. Oh, we're here to talk about the robbery at your uncle's house. I don't have an uncle in Florida. Oh, well, we're here to talk about this and da-da-da and 15 guns, whatever. You can either talk to us or tell us to piss off. I told them to fuck off. They wrote piss off in the paperwork. After I said that, the interview was terminated and I got brought back to my dorm. But they don't put that out. They don't put that paperwork out because it makes me look fucking fantastic. But the thing is, I'm in there for less than 5 minutes. I know what y'all want to talk about, and then I'm gone. It doesn't take 2 hours. Doug was in that bitch for 2 hours. You know what they want to know. Once you know what they want to know, you get the fuck out of there. That's it. Yakotti was in there for 6 hours. So it's like, you could try to say you're playing them, you're doing this and that. Once you know what they're trying to figure out, you get up out of there. But once you start saying too much, you find yourself in a position like this. And if they got you on video or audio saying, oh, I'll tell y'all whatever, just promise you won't expose me, you know that sounds crazy. You can't really defend that.
Yeah, well, I interviewed Yakotti recently in Atlanta, and I brought up your name and the accusations and so forth. And did you hear that?
Nah. How recent was this?
This was, I don't know, a few weeks ago. Well, when you were on Danza.
I was on Danza.
You were on Danza.
For sure.
And he talked about how Wack 100 and 1090 Jake accused you of being a snitch.
1090 a bitch. 1090 Jake a bitch.
You said I'm a bitch?
Cause he won't say it in my face. I dare you.
You want to FaceTime right now?
I don't do no FaceTime say in my face.
Okay.
Yeah, we from the street, but I don't know damn FaceTime.
Okay.
And we FaceTime, like, hey, what's sound? Pull up, like, or I pull up, or whatever. We sit down, and like, but don't speak on my motherfucking story when you don't know what the hell going on with me.
Okay.
You feel me? Cause everybody like, you feel me? Don't speak on me, bro. You don't know me, you don't know, you can't, I wear a size 9.5, 10. You can't fit either or.
What about Wack 100? There you have it. That was his response to you. I was trying to get you guys to FaceTime, but he didn't want to do it, so we just left it at that.
He said, I'm a bitch, but he the bitch that talked to the police. Right? He the bitch that did a 6-hour he the bitch that told the police, I don't want to talk anymore. Then they gave him a fast food sandwich and he sat down for an extra 2 hours. He's that bitch. He the bitch that told the police he gave the rifle to what's his name? Shannon Stillwell, Duke, whoever the fuck that is. And he used that in retaliation in a shooting. That's how he got his homie indicted. He's that bitch. And he right, I can't fit no size 9.5. I'm 11.5. But he's that bitch. So he could be mad at me, but really he mad at himself. That's all it is.
Well, he ultimately took it to court and he won.
That's good for him.
Did his homie all the way to the verdict. I'm sorry?
Did his homie win?
Yeah.
The homie that he said had the rifle, because he went to state prison for that, then got indicted again.
Was it Shannon Stillwell?
I believe so. That's Duke, right?
Shannon Stillwell alias. No, that's SB.
That's SB.
Yeah.
Let me see, because I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
Sure.
I'm gonna tell you exactly what the fuck he did.
Yeah, Shannon Stillwell ended up beating that case, along with Yakotti.
Right, but you gotta understand that all of these charges were things that they were already going to prison for. So some of them already did time for this shit. Then they got re-indicted under a RICO for things that they'd already been convicted on. That's how they got fucked over in the case. DeMonte Kendricks, Yakotti?
Hold on a second. Yakotti, real name. Yeah, DeMonte Kendrick.
Perfect. So in his federal appeal, right, filed in 2018, DeMonte Kendricks appealed his 57-month imprisonment imposed after he pled guilty to one count of being a felon in possession of a firearm. Now, at the bottom of this, it says he argues that his sentence is substantively unreasonable because the district court refused to impose a greater downward variance to avoid unwarranted disparity in sentencing between himself and his state co-defendant, and to account for the fact that, but for Kendrick's honesty when questioned by police, his guideline sentence would have been lower. So you're fighting in your appeal, hey, I told y'all the truth and nothing but the truth when y'all investigated me. How come I didn't get a good deal, right? That's one. In subsequent interviews with police, Kendricks admitted that he owned the rifle and that he lent it to Arnold, who planned to use it that night to retaliate against a rival gang who beat him up. Kendricks also told police that the pistol was his and described an unrelated incident involving that firearm. So you told him you gave a gun to somebody that was used to retaliate against a gang, right? Then you identified another gun that was used in another situation. Let's see what this one says. Kendricks placed the initials DK to the right of each paragraph. Although the charges pending against Kendricks were as listed at the beginning of this facts section, Thought filed in murder only in the Miranda form because it was the most serious offense that the detectives wanted to question him. About 2.5 hours into the questioning, while Kendricks was being questioned by the two detectives, he announced he wanted his lawyer and he doesn't want to talk anymore. There was no further questioning. He was then escorted to the salad port to smoke a cigarette, and while there, he volunteered that he would continue to talk to the detective as long as the other detective was not present. Taken back into the interview room, he was provided with a fast food sandwich. When the detective re-entered the interview room, the detective recounted the salad port conversation for the recording. Kendricks acknowledged that he wanted to continue the questioning without a lawyer. The questioning then resumed and later ended, and he went on for the remainder of the time. So, that's that bitch. Tell me when I did that.
Man, these things are so complex and convoluted.
It's really not, though. The only thing that makes it complex is when the whole fucking gang is snitching. That's what makes it complex. Usually only one person, they fuck it up for everybody. one person, Woody, fucked it up for YSL. Then we found out everybody else followed through. They were all doing the same shit. So he can't say he didn't. I don't have to know him. All I got to do is just read his case. All anybody has to do is read his federal appeal. All the paperwork is there. You sat down for 6 hours, and I dropped this shit before Wack dropped the actual video interview. I had the transcripts of everything that he said. So it's like, go ahead and tell me. I've never sat for 6 fucking hours with the police and was given a cigarette and a sandwich. I never got that treatment.
You know what people are saying? You know, like the YSL album cover?
Yeah.
They're saying the dog is the only one that didn't snitch in this picture.
That's fucking crazy.
Right here. Yeah, man, they're calling it Ratlanta right now. It's just,
YSL,
is just
Rat Gotti.
YSL. Oh, I haven't heard that one. That's a new one.
Yeah, shit's crazy.
YSL. Yeah, I mean, like I said, but do you agree with my statement, though? If there are guys out there that are doing crimes for 5+ years and never go to prison, and never get more than a little, whatever, a week or 2 in jail, I say that they all pretty much have cooperated at some point. People just may not know about it. Do you agree or disagree?
I wouldn't generalize it to that extent, but I'll say that the percentage of people that's snitching is way higher than what people thought. I think it's close to the 80-90% of everyone involved in crime has done some form of cooperation.
Right. And the reality is, the reason why there's not this huge blowback on these artists who cooperate is because 99% of their audience, who are regular working people, look at this and say, I probably would have done the same thing. Am I right?
I mean, I never thought that, but...
You're not that 99%. I'm talking about the 99% who are kids in high school, kids in college, people that work in Amazon, people who have regular jobs.
I feel like when they're by themselves, yeah, that's what they'll say. But when they're with their friends, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he's a bitch, and he shoulda did forever, and da da da," and you know.
Right. No. What I'm saying is that all these people who are fans of these artists, if they get put in that situation where they're like, "Listen, do you want to do 20 years in prison or do you want to cooperate?" They would all just cooperate. You disagree with me on this?
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. Because I know some people that, you know, got involved in stupid shit that they literally didn't have anything to do with, and they got themselves fried in court. Sadly.
And do you think they regret those decisions?
Oh, 100%, yeah. But they thought they were doing the real thing. That's another thing. There's a percentage of people that kept it real that wish they told.
Right.
That's another factor in prison, bro. Yeah. That's why people end up snitching 40 years later. Or find that, oh, I can get out like this? Yeah, he did it. He's dead, but he did this. All that shit. There's a lot of people that regret the decision of keeping it real because they realize once you're 3 years, 5 years inside of prison, none of that shit fucking mattered. None of it. There's a group of people waiting for you in prison that are going to embrace you and be happy you're there. Oh, you're with this shit? Oh, you killed 3 people? Oh, yeah, here's a knife. We're going at it with them. Yeah, we need you active tomorrow on the yard. We're happy you're here, bro. Yeah, let's do this 40 years together. No, I don't want to fucking do that. But there's mad people inside of prison that wish they could have told or wish they didn't take that route and that they were out with their family because now they're doing forever and everyone's fucking dying. Their whole bloodline's dying off. Their kids don't want nothing to do with them because they chose the gang over their family, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I think it was Lil Woody when I think he said that when he was in the feds, he would meet 2 types of people. People that told and people that wish they told.
No.
And look, Woody's having a field day with this. He's like, look, man, now I'm not the snitch anymore. Now Young Thug is a snitch as well.
Nah, I mean, Woody's still the snitch. Woody's just slow. So he gets a pass off of being retarded. Like, that's all that is. Like, everybody can tell he's not all the way there. And that's another factor in the streets, is you got crash outs that have no idea what the fuck they're doing. and they do crazy shit, and they're not all the way there. So it's like, no one's really tripping on Woody for that shit.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, and I think Woody made a good point, Young Thug really is the reason why everyone was involved in this shit. Like this whole case and everything else like that, Young Thug really is the epicenter. Ultimately, people were riding with Young Thug, and I think Young Thug was setting the direction of where this group of people were going. Now, ultimately, he probably would have beaten the RICO if it went to court, because I think that what the DA did was so overbearing and was trying to do so much at the same time. But I think if they had really focused on one or two things that Young Thug did in terms of furtherance of the gang and so forth, I think he would have been convicted if it went to, the jury.
No.
That's what I think. Young Thug is obviously the leader, right? You can't say that there is some drug kingpin at the heart of this organization that's really calling the shots, and Young Thug is really scared of him and he's being told what to do and so forth. You have there's no Suge Knight in YSL, right? There's no business guy that's really out there making everyone do a whole bunch of crazy shit. I think that Young Thug ultimately was someone who grew up kind of awkward, kind of a weird looking kid. He was wearing dresses when he was younger and, had a whole bunch of kids and was sort of involved in a whole bunch of kind of questionable stuff. Because I've talked to people offline that told me stuff that Young Thug was involved in that they covered for. Right? This is what I'm saying. That there was crimes that Thug was definitely involved in that other people took the rap for.
Right.
And I'm not going to say who it is because it was a private conversation off the record. Right? And this is important in my line of work, that I keep these type of conversations private. But I can tell you that he was involved in a whole bunch of stuff. He was pushing the line. He was causing these beefs. Him and Lucci were going at it. He was doing lyrics about your mom getting shot and his mom really to get shot and that type of stuff. And he was embracing this whole blood, slime, gangster kind of image. And he was doing well financially with it. And everyone else around him was, okay, whatever you want to do. You're the big dog here. You're the big artist. We're going to go along with what you're doing. And look, and it's not like I'm talking out of my ass. I've had guys around me that are willing to do violent things for my behalf. I learned early on that this is a road you don't want to be on, because ultimately what's going to happen is people are going to get hurt, they're going to press charges, they're going to sue, and it's all going to come back down to you. So at that point, I said, okay, let me get rid of these kind of knuckleheads around me and get real security and get, off-duty cops or actual licensed people who have guns legally that will take the stand if necessary. And I'm going to surround myself with these types of people when I feel my safety is somehow compromised. But Thug was the reason why all this happened.
Well, you got to look at
disagree?
it. You got to look at it like nobody's going to do something that he doesn't want them to do.
Right.
If you did something so crazy, like how he's saying Woody broke in a Nuts car and took his jewelry, whatever. If you did something so crazy that jeopardized Thug would have cut you off. So the fact that everyone remained in the circle while all the madness was happening, it kind of speaks for itself. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because I think people want to be around that star power. They want to be backstage at the shows. They want to be at the parties. They want to have access to all the IG models and all the OnlyFans girls. And
yeah, but then the rappers want to be dangerous too. And
right,
if
the rappers want to have that dangerous element around.
They don't have
right.
to do it, and they can just they can make shit happen. They like that power. So it's like, that's just, I wouldn't solely blame it on Thug, but he's definitely got a lot of responsibility in the situation.
I would put it all on Thug, honestly. At the end of the day, man, I could blame my employees for what happens at VladTV, but really it's my fault. When my employees mess up, like for example, the Lil Durk issues that I've had for years, we put out a piece of footage he asked us not to put out about a baby that he was having. One of my employees dropped the ball. He's not mad at my employee, he's mad at me.
Right.
I had to go and ultimately fix that, So you could say, oh no, it was these other guys. No, it was Thug. He had control. He could have cut people off. He could have gotten rid of people. And sometimes though, you end up getting stuck with certain people. You have people around you that do so much dirt, and know so much about you and could ultimately send you to prison that you kind of have to keep them around.
Well, let me ask you, do you think Thug is a rat?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel that those statements mentioning Peewee and the shooting, if he really was an actual real street, figure, he would just say no comment. I don't know. Let me speak to my lawyer. That there would not be anything regarding the shooting and the person who ultimately was convicted as the shooter.
Right.
Now, me and Peewee, Roscoe actually had a conversation the other day, and we're talking about doing an interview together. So he's going to go and talk about all this in depth for the first time. And at the end of the day, I think he still rocks with Young Thug, and I think Thug probably helps him out and so forth.
If he wasn't before, he's definitely going to help him out now. But the thing is this, right? Thug said, I was trying to help my homie, right? And when you listen to the clips, it doesn't sound like that at all. But there's a few things that stuck out. One thing that everybody got on his ass for was he said Roscoe was the one bringing Lil Wayne his drugs. Now, he's not...
Well, okay, hold on. I think he said weed.
No, I think he said drugs.
Oh, he said drugs?
I think he said drugs. Regardless, though.
Okay, look. All right, well, I think Roscoe... Yeah, Peewee Roscoe mentioned that he sold Lil Wayne some weed. I don't know whether Thug said drugs or not, but I think they're talking about weed. I think. Who knows?
Whether it's weed, coke, Molly, whatever Wayne needed, the statement is being used as, oh, look, you told on him right here. But from Thug's perspective, no, I'm bridging the gap between they were associates. There wasn't a beef. Nah, they're cool. He was selling him shit. Now they're cool with each other. So I can understand Thug's perspective of, I was trying to play the police. I'm saying something that they're going to pay attention to, but it's like, yeah, he was selling them drugs, but that's because they're cool. And then he disrespected dude and was like, Roscoe's the type of guy you can slap him and he'll cry. He's trying to make him sound pussy. Because if he makes him sound pussy, it doesn't sound like he would go shoot a bus up. So there's things that he said that align with the excuse that he's given. But when you clip things up, like I said earlier, into what you want to make it, you can make it seem horrible. So it's just like, there's things that he shouldn't have said, but some things also align with the narrative he's trying to give.
Well, Tekashi69 entered the chat, and he basically is calling out Young Thug. He said, I never told my friends why everybody's so quiet. And he was tagging Lil Baby, Future, and 21 Savage. He says, when the song's coming out, calling your man Spider a rat. I did it, and what? Young Thug said to the police, take my number, call me. Just don't tell nobody you got my number. How you going to defend that? And me and Wack talked about it. He was saying how Young Thug is actually more dangerous than Tekashi, because at least Tekashi told in public, Young Thug was telling in private and then going back and hanging out with those same people again.
Who's more dangerous, 6ix9ine or Thug? And we're talking 6ix9ine after his indictment. After 6ix9ine did everything he did and they ran the narrative on 6ix9ine, who was more dangerous, 6ix9ine or Thug? Now let's talk about the Thug interviews with Gillian Wallow, how he can smell a rat, how he say he can tell if a dude a rat. I'm gonna tell you why 6ix9ine is harmless. You know why he's harmless?
Because everyone knows that he snitches.
Thug is dangerous. And that interrogation, you remember the first time you had sex, Vlad?
Yes.
A little nervous?
A little bit.
A little bit, right? Second, third, fourth, fifth time, confidence is up.
Right.
No problem, right?
No problem.
Thug was 24 in that interrogation. Let me explain something to you. Police don't pull you in and tell you, we ain't got nothing on you. You want an attorney and you decline the attorney and you talk to these people for 2.5 hours going over everything about everybody and want me to believe. That's your first time doing that. He was too comfortable in that seat, bro.
Yeah, but you gotta follow the trail of money though. Who does Wack work with?
Tekashi.
Who else does he work with? QCP.
Oh, does he? Okay.
So have you ever heard Wack speak out against somebody he gets money with?
No.
Right.
And he actually went into the whole QCP situation. He talked about how when the guy ran in with the gun in the mall, like lots of people were calling 911 and so forth. So by the time they got to P, then it kind of didn't matter.
No, it mattered. P wrote a statement and signed it. What Pyru can write a statement like that and sign it and not be a snitch?
Yeah.
The fuck you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, he ain't a street dude. Then why are you confronting somebody about a body? What normal civilian is gonna walk up and be like, oh, you killed my homie? And then when he go get a gun, it's fire. Give me the paper. Yeah, he did it.
Well, this goes back to my original statement that you take any guy that's been doing crimes for multiple years that didn't go to prison, at some point, you're going to find out that there was some level of cooperation.
Well,
and QCP is another example of that.
They try to say QCP wasn't in the streets, regardless, right? When you have the job that you have.
I don't know about that part.
I don't believe it either.
I don't know about that part.
Whether he is or wasn't, doesn't matter. The job that you have and the culture that you're in doesn't go with that shit, right? So if you're signing street dudes and you're around street artists and this and that, and you got the same image, but you did that shit, really, motherfuckers ain't supposed to rock with you. But when you up 300 M's, motherfuckers ain't gonna look at it like that, right?
Right.
Now that this shit, the top got blew off for this situation, so everybody's firing off allegations at each other, Rollo said he's still rocking with QCP. Right or wrong? In my opinion, it's wrong. Because what they're accusing you of doing, he actually did. As far as 6ix9ine, 6ix9ine just wants company.
Yeah, it's funny because QCP actually responded to the Young Thug interview. He goes, yeah, I heard it, but when I'm going to do it, when I tell the QC story, I'm going to get 20 to 30 million for it. And listen, P, we know each other. You're not getting 20 to 30 million for a documentary, okay? You're not.
Hang on. I'm gonna send you this so you can, but I'll read it to you now.
Okay.
Because this is the actual, whatever camera I need. This is the statement right here. It says, Pierre Thomas, birth date, all that shit, the time. I confronted him about a murder and chased him to car. He got a pistol and chased me in the mall, threatening to kill me. Question, how do you know the subject? Answer, he shot me and killed my friend. Question, what type of gun was it? Answer, a black handgun. Signed at the bottom. Next written statement. Question, did he make any comments? Answer, I'm gonna kill you. Question, did you fear for your life? Answer, yes, with an exclamation point. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? What would you call that? Like, what answer would you give for that? There ain't none. So whoever signed to him, all right, well, you give the fucking answer then. You can't. So it's like, if y'all, the only thing 6ix9ine is right about is if y'all are gonna politic on everybody. Don't be selective. That's why I said 6ix9ine wants company. He wants everybody to be in the same boat as him. But he's right in calling people out because a lot of people aren't being held to the same standard. They love Thug. They hated 6ix9ine. That's why it played out how it did with him.
Well, okay, but in terms of overall perception, writing a statement about your friend getting killed and the shooter going after you as well, I think is a little different than taking the stand against all the people that were around you day after day and pointing them out in court and saying this person did this person did that, this person did this, and all of them getting football numbers.
Right. Well, what we're trying to do now is we're trying to make it to who's the worst rat. There's not really supposed to be levels to it. It's just supposed to be you're either a ratty or not. So it doesn't really matter who did fucking worse, you know, because we could be in school and you fucking stole something from me out of my lunchbox And if I tell the teacher you stole the shit, I'm a rat. So the severity doesn't really fucking matter. Yeah, 6ix9ine did it the best, if you want to put it that way. He did amazing. He fucking pointed everybody out and then got right out and then fucking made music. Yeah. If you're gonna make it sound like that, Woody fucking damn near got rid of it. Cause he went up there and didn't say shit. Everybody was like, oh, look at him, he's great. But they didn't look at the old shit, how Woody basically told on everyone from the beginning. So it's like, yeah, you saved the day at the end, but you also started the situation. There's not supposed to be levels to it, or who did it better or who did it worse. It's just, did you do it or did you not? And that's it.
How about this? Everyone who's watching this right now, just don't do crimes.
Facts.
Just go get a job, start a YouTube channel, start a business. Don't get involved in any of this.
Yeah,
it's a slippery slope.
interview the motherfuckers that snitching on each other. You're gonna make plenty of money doing that. Don't get involved with it.
Because I personally don't care about having snitches around me because there's nothing to snitch on when it comes to me.
Right.
I simply don't care. I'm a regular civilian. I don't have a criminal record. I've gotten, locked up for suspended licenses and stuff like that. I don't rip people off. I don't sell drugs. I don't do illegal business. My paperwork is right. And at the end of the day, all this is just an outsider looking in. Once you get involved in all this, man, and you start becoming public and you start taking stances and start bashing all the rats and so forth, you're going to end up in a Young Thug situation.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch gears. I recently did the first interview with Hernandez Govan, who just beat a murder conspiracy involving young Dolph.
Right.
A couple days later, after he was found not guilty by a jury, he flew to LA to do a VladTV interview. This was like the biggest thing on my channel. What was your take? Did you watch the interview at all?
I did. What's funny is I was actually going to DM you, like, yo, you need to get that interview. Even though I'm a major Dolph fan, it's still a historic thing, you know what I'm saying? Especially to hear that perspective, but I did watch it. Do I believe everything he said? It doesn't really matter. But it is what it is, right?
Well, I generally believe what he said. Yes, there was probably a few things that are omitted here and there, but at the end of the day, because people like to say, police were glad that young Dolph was dead and didn't want to prosecute anymore. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Police threw everything they had at Hernandez.
Yeah.
They were trying to indict him. Well, they indicted him. They were trying to convict him.
Right.
Right? They were trying to put him in prison, potentially for life, over his involvement in young Dolph's murder. They were working very closely with the family and so forth, and they were trying to lock him up. They were not going easy on him to any stretch of the imagination. But everything was laid out by the state. Every text message, every phone call, and the only witness was one of the shooters who hadn't gone to court yet. That's trying to take, some time off his own, situation, which potentially is life in prison. And the jury took less than 3 hours to deliberate. A murder case with life in prison. What does that tell you? When a jury, look, if it's somehow gray area and those 12 jurors understand how serious the repercussions are, they would have spent at least a few days deliberating. The fact that, because his lawyer was there also, Manny Aurora, who's Gucci Mane's old lawyer, as well as Lil Durk's lawyer during the shooting case, he said it was less than 3 hours. He said that if you count like the instructions and some of the, the office stuff that has to be done, it was really more like an hour and a half. So you mean to tell me that a jury that sat there and listened to every single piece of evidence came back with a not guilty plea that quickly, he's still guilty? I just don't believe it.
I mean, I don't know, bro. I'm biased. I ain't gonna lie.
You're a young Dolph fan?
I fuck with Dolph, bro. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. And at the same time, it's like, you don't wish prison on people. Jook got killed. One of the shooters have life. The other one's facing it. Whatever. You know? Whatever. And if he had anything to do with it, even though he clarified that his daughter's death was not revenge for Dolph, it was a robbery situation. Well, if he had anything to do with it, that's your karma right there. Your daughter got killed. Other than that, I don't know. It is what it is, right? If he didn't have nothing to do with it, great. But the fucking involvement and, you know, it didn't come out of nowhere. But you beat the case, you beat the case. Live your life.
Well, there's some interesting parts of this case, and we talked about this during our interview. He was indicted for being a middleman between Big Jook, a.k.a. Yo Gotti's brother, and the two shooters. When he was indicted for a go-between between Jook and the murderers, Jook was still alive. So I asked him on camera, I said, please explain to me why you're indicted for a murder for hire when in the paperwork, the guy who basically hired the murderers is still walking around. Big Jook was never indicted. And his answer was, you know, listen, he's like, I don't know, but my guess is the prosecutors felt that Jook would get his brother's money to protect himself and get, you know, some serious lawyers behind him. Whereas Hernandez was relatively broke and wouldn't be able to defend himself, which is why they went after Hernandez, but not Jook. Jook got killed later on. Did the prosecution intend on charging Big Jook for the young Dolph murder? Because later on, Jook is sort of involved in this whole case that you're now in at the time.
Well, in my opinion,
like, how do they charge you but not him? How do you get indicted but Jook is still walking around? I don't get that part.
In my opinion, if they wanted to charge him, they could have. The same evidence that they said they had against me
included Jook.
They had against Jook,
right,
if not more.
Exactly.
I think I was singled out because maybe they knew I didn't have the resources that Jook had.
Oh, because his brother's Gotti.
Correct. And so, you know, with that being said, I think that the plan was to arrest me and to try to put the squeeze on me and, you know, I guess develop or help materialize whatever they were trying to do.
Explain to me that, okay? I tell you to hire a couple killers to go kill some of my enemies. You get indicted and I don't? Explain that to me.
No, I mean, that's a valid point. I don't know, bro. It's just, I feel like when you're a fan of somebody, you kind of feel like, fuck everybody that has something to do with it.
Okay, so you're biased. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm admitting to it. I'm not even, you know.
Yeah. And look, we went through the whole case together. Yes, there was a bunch of phone calls and text messages between Jook, Hernandez, and the two killers before the actual murders occurred. None of the text messages have anything to do with the shootings or the killings. And the phone calls were not recorded, and we have no idea what was talked about in the phone calls.
No.
The only person who says this is what we talked about was one of the killers. That's fairly weak evidence, if you ask me. You want to give someone life in prison because he talked to some of the people who did it? He admitted to knowing everybody. He admitted to knowing Jook. He admitted to knowing the two killers. That doesn't mean that he had anything to do with the shit. I know Big U. Me and Big U talk. Am I involved in this RICO case? No, because we didn't talk about shit. Right. We talked about shit that got nothing to do with what he went to jail for, right? But this to me was the most intriguing part of the whole interview. Like a week before they went to trial, he signed a 10-year plea deal. That plea deal was sent back to the family before the DA signed it, and the family said, we don't want to accept this. This is not enough time. So the plea deal was ripped up, and he went to court only to win. So young Dolph's family basically freed him.
So I signed the deal, and They took the deal and they went to the family, and the family rejected it and said they didn't, no deal.
The family of young Dolph.
Family.
Oh,
of
they
young
have
Dolph.
to accept that.
They have to accept
Oh.
it. They don't have to, but for whatever reason, the DA was dancing to their music.
Okay.
And so when they rejected it, it was trial, because I wasn't taking the 15.
That's a fucked up way of putting it.
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think it was a good thing, because if he didn't do it, he should be freed. But
There's
had
a
young
lot
Dolph's
of, there's a
family
lot
not
of
got
people that do shit that they don't have the evidence to get you on. You know what I mean?
Look,
there's a lot of technicalities. They just needed this and they didn't have it. You know? So it's like, because why would you sign off on 10 if you didn't do it?
because you're facing life. You're facing life. You've already been to prison multiple times, so prison doesn't terrify you the way it does certain people. You sign off on 10. You've already done, I think, 2 years on house arrest. And it's a state case. You could probably get 50% of the time. So you could potentially come home in 3 years, as opposed to life in prison if you blow trial. I think a lot of people would seriously consider signing that, me included. You wouldn't consider signing that?
If I didn't do it,
If you didn't do it,
if
you're facing life.
If I did do it, I'd sign it. If I did, but if I didn't do it, I'm not signing shit. I'm going straight to
Okay.
trial. And there's another
I
case
think-
that I'm sure we're going to talk about that a deal has been offered and apparently refused. I'm sure we'll get to that soon, but that's another perfect example.
Which deal? What are you talking about, just so I know?
YNW Bortlen.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Look, I would definitely consider a plea deal. If I was told, listen, sign this, you'll get out in 3 years, blow trial, you'll do life. Even if I didn't do it, I think I might sign it. Considering how bad it looks, considering my past criminal record, considering that I know everybody and how it could be presented in court and everything else like that, I would seriously consider it. And I don't think it's that crazy to sign a plea deal. By the way, have you ever heard of somebody signing a plea deal and the DA ripping it up and going to court?
They rejected my plea deal.
What do you mean?
The state offered me a plea deal in my case in Boston that I had for assault with a firearm. They said I was chasing somebody with a gun. They came up with a plea, a probation plea, and I was like, yeah, I'll take that. 2.5 years probation. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Fucking sign whatever. They brought it to the judge. The judge rejected it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you get plea deals that the judge could ultimately throw out? That's
Yeah,
a thing?
It's an offer.
Oh.
It's an offer, and the final decision is this. So they offered me 2.5 years probation, and he was basically like, "Well, this is a gun case in which they said you're chasing somebody with a gun, trying to rob them, and a year ago you just got released from prison for another firearm case. The judge told me you need to go back to prison." Some time elapsed. They ended up still giving me that same plea, but he added on, "I'm gonna give you the 2.5 years probation with a 2.5 year suspended sentence and a promise that if you violate once, you're doing the whole 2.5 years. I don't give a fuck if it's the last month, you're gonna do the entire 2.5 years." And that was my sentence. So they can reject it, they can send it back, they can alter it, they can whatever the fuck they want to do.
Yeah, I guess due to my ignorance of this whole kind of situation, I just assumed that once the DA brings you a plea deal and you sign, that at that point they've already countersigned and it's ready to go. But I guess that's not the case.
Well, the final approval would be through the judge.
Right, but have you ever heard of like the family of the victim getting a plea deal thrown out after it was signed?
I haven't personally, but I guess that happens. I don't know.
Yeah. Look, man, at the end of the interview with Govan, if you watch it, I say multiple times, you need to move out of Memphis.
Oh yeah,
You need
100%.
to get out, you need to get out, you need to get out. And you know what he says, which I've heard so many times before by people who ended up dying afterwards? I know how to move. Is there a priority for you to move out of Memphis?
It's something that I want to do. I mean, I was wanting to move out of Memphis prior to this, you know what I'm saying, this situation even, happening. it's still a goal of mine. It's just because, you know, I outgrew Memphis a long time ago. So, you know, am I leaving Memphis tomorrow or next week? No, I'm not. Am I hiding from anybody? No, I'm not. Is it a goal of mine to move me and my kids from Memphis, Tennessee at some point? Of course it is.
All right, well, if that happens, I'm sure me and you are going to talk about it, and I'm going to make a video on it, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Mo3 told me that. FBG Duck told me that. You may know how to move, but you don't know how other people are moving.
Bro, I'll get security. I don't give a fuck about what people think. I'll come in here with the fucking Navy SEALs. I don't give a fuck about that. Hey, I'll get security, bro. They can do all that gang. Oh, I know how to move. All right. I'm not going to no fucking Memphis. I'm not going to no fucked up area. I'm not doing, I'm in bougie shit. I was just in Europe. I'm going over there. I don't want to fucking go to the hoods and I'm straight.
Yeah, look, as big of a figure as Dolph was in Memphis and the number of murders and shootings that occurred over his murder.
Yeah.
With as many fans as Dolph has, all you need is one stupid fan to take it upon themselves to avenge young Dolph's death. Just one stupid, mentally retarded, autistic, lives at home with his mom at 35 years old type fan to go and get his dad's gun and go and shoot you. Like, that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've seen stupid shit like this before. I remember, at one point, Hillary Clinton had this whole conspiracy theory called Pizzagate, where this certain pizza restaurant, I think in Connecticut, they say was being used to traffic children. Some guy walked in there with a gun, to try to free the kids. And I think he shot up the place. You see stupid shit happening based on perception and conspiracy and the internet and social media and so forth. So me personally, when I beat that case, I'll tell my kids, Dad is going to love you from a different state. We're going to go to Atlanta. We're going to go to Florida somewhere. We'll go to California. We'll go in the middle of nowhere. But walking around Memphis right now, because the sad part is that, me personally, I believe him. I don't think he really had anything to do with it. And if he did, he was like, okay, I'll tell you why I believe him. I think maybe 4 months before the trial, me and him were already talking about doing the interview. He reached out to me. We were having off-the-record conversations, and I asked him what happened. He kind of broke down the whole situation. So here's a guy that's facing a murder case that's talking freely to a journalist over a phone call that's basically saying, I didn't have nothing to do with this.
No.
He was really confident. If I had did it, there's no way I'd be talking to anybody about this. I would shut up and let my lawyers do their job because I'm facing life in prison. But he was like, yeah, they're about to drop it. I didn't have nothing to do with it. These guys came over and they were talking about how there's a hit on young Dolph there's a hit on Yo Gotti from young Dolph. And I'm like, listen, I ain't trying to have nothing to do with this shit. That's between y'all. And he was telling me all this stuff ahead of time. And ultimately he ended up going to trial. But he was telling me they're going to drop it. There's no evidence about me having anything to do with it. So honestly, based on our personal conversations and everything that came out on camera, I don't think he really had anything to do with it. And if he did, I think it was so slight that you saw what happened in court. And that's that. Well, you touched on this before. YNW Bortlen was offered a 16-year plea deal, which I think expires today, right?
I think it already did.
It already did expire. So does that mean he didn't take it?
That's what I heard. Yeah, I seen one post saying he had a week. I seen another post saying he had a day. And I was in Italy when this happened, so I wasn't really too diving into it to figure out what was true and what wasn't. But from my understanding, it was something he had to either take immediately or he never got the offer again.
Yeah, he's charged with capital murder and wire tampering. So, from what I understand, this plea deal would also force him to cooperate against Melly?
I didn't see that so that was the surprising thing, because there was a whole list of everything that would happen with the plea. What charges would get dropped, he would get credit for, what would be a null process, which is it's getting taken away. nothing in it said anything about cooperating. It was just him admitting to what he did, and he would get the 16 years, and that'd be it. And he would get time served for however long he's been incarcerated and hopefully on house arrest too. But I didn't see anything that said he had to cooperate.
Okay, yeah, I'd heard that, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, because you're more thorough about this than I am. So, because he's been locked up for what, 7 years now?
No, he's gotten bond twice and fucked up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was on house arrest for a minute, went in, and then got back out, and then fucked up again.
If you're on bond, doesn't that count as time served sometimes or no?
It can. It's just going to be dependent on the courts.
Okay. So let's just say best case situation, right? Let me just double check this. This was 2019. So for 6 years, the two of them have been locked up one way or another. You know, Melly has been really locked up. He's been kind of in and out. So let's just say time served. So you got 6 years time served. This is a state case, right?
Yeah.
So you do 16 years with good behavior that could turn into 8. You've done 6 years time served, potentially. This is a best case situation, right?
Yeah.
That means you can get out in 2 years. Pretty good deal.
2.
Well, yeah, 16 divided by 2 is 8. You've done 6 on house arrest.
Yeah, he got 16 years, so 6 years credit. That leaves him with a 10-piece, right?
No. But take the whole 16, right? You take the 16 as a whole, and in a state case with good behavior, it'll turn into 8, right?
How?
Well, because you could potentially do 50% of the time in a state case, right?
Fuck no. In Florida, you're doing 85%.
Really?
Florida's like the feds.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, I didn't know that.
That's why I was like 2 years. Where the fuck you
okay.
at? Nah, in
all right,
Florida,
so certain states. Okay.
Down here, this shit's strict. They don't play that shit. You doing 85%. Yeah, nah, he gonna be in that bitch for a little minute.
All right, so let's adjust the numbers. So that's like 13 and a half years if you count 85%.
Yeah.
He's done 6. He could possibly get out about 8 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a relatively young man.
Yeah, you still got life to live. You know what I'm saying? My whole thing is if you did it, take the plea. If you didn't do it, trial. Because the fact that they're now offering this and he's supposed to go to trial very soon, it shows some form of weakness. Hey, look, we're going to give you this crazy plea after you allegedly drove around with 2 bodies that you planned to murder and then you tampered with the witness, you know? All of these capital punishments, all of these death penalties we could give you, we're going to offer you this 16-piece real quick and see if you'll bite. If you did it, take the plea. From what I heard, he didn't take the plea. If you didn't do it, don't take the plea. Take it to trial. If you get fucked, you still have an appeal. If you beat the case, welcome home. You're going to be on VladTV pretty soon.
I mean, from your point of view, do you think that Melly and Bortlen did it?
I think that if they did it, they would have been found guilty a long time ago. I've never seen a case take this long.
Well, right, because Melly took it to court and it was a hung jury.
Right.
And they're retrying him.
And the fact that I'm personally in the case, I know that they're bullshitting. Because there's bullshit about me in the case. And I don't have a fuck thing to do with it. They said I was one of the highest ranking, most respected members of GKB. Never been that in my fucking life. I've never been some top rank blood. No, never. Never happened. So it's like, if you're gonna try to hype me up like that and say I fund the Bloods with my YouTube channel, yeah, I can't imagine the bullshit you're putting on them. Shit's fucking crazy.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
I didn't. I fucking think about that shit all the time. You really said I'm funding a whole gang. Mind you, no one I know knows Melly or Bortlen. Never met them. Not in any pictures with them, nothing. Never heard of them. And the part of Florida they're from is the middle of fucking nowhere. So it's like, the shit just doesn't make any fucking sense. If they're gonna say that about me, I know they're throwing bullshit on them. So it is what it is.
Look, man, I hope they beat it and come home. I'm sure the families feel differently. I guess the problem with situations like this, it's like, if they didn't do it, then who did? Obviously, you have two dead bodies, so someone did it.
Well, that's for the police to figure out, not us. We don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Y'all figure that shit out. But goddamn, how many years is it going to take y'all to fucking figure it out for them?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I feel like after Melly got a mistrial, I feel like they should at least let him out.
Yeah, me too.
Giving him a bond. But I guess in Florida, a double murder case, there's a reason not to give him a bond as well.
I mean, they technically could execute him over the case. You know what I mean? It's a capital murder. Capital murder is punishable by death in the state of Florida. So it's like, it's some big boy shit. It's not a little case, but 7 years locked up and he's in confinement? That's crazy.
Yeah, I actually looked it up because, for example, in California, although there is a death penalty in California, Governor Newsom put a moratorium on death penalties like years and years ago.
No.
Right? I looked at the last person executed in Florida, August 28th.
Yeah, no, your ass will get the needle hit, but the thing is, it'll take like 15, 20 years for it to actually happen.
Yeah, August 28th, 2025, Curtis Wyndham for the 1992 murders of 3 people in Orlando.
Yeah, so
Lethal injection.
93, so he's been on death row for dumb long, you know what I mean?
Yo, here's the crazier part. This was the 11th lethal injection in Florida in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Florida is really killing people off in these prisons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't fuck around in Florida.
Yeah, Florida's it's a serious state when it comes to crime, bro. We used to, I don't know if they still have it, but like when I was growing up here, they had posters that said 1020 life. If you pull it, that's 10. If you fire it, that's 20. And if it hits somebody, that's life. And the technicality was if in the commission of a felony, you pull a gun out. So if I'm like, yo, Vlad, take them glasses off. I'm attempting to rob you, right? You're like, Jake, fuck you. And I pull a gun, that's 10. If I pop it in the air, that's 20. If a bullet touches you, that's life. So they thought like, oh yeah, this strict law, it just made people kill people. If I'm gonna get fucking 20 years or 10 years just for pulling it, I might as well just make sure you can't say anything. So, you know.
What's your take on the death penalty? Do you agree with it or disagree with it?
I agree with it. Yeah, I grew up on street shit, bro. Everybody believes in the death penalty. That's why everybody totes guns and kills each other. That's what that is. You cross me and I feel justified in killing you. So how can I say I don't believe in the death penalty? It's the same shit. If you go raping women and touching kids, yeah, smoke him. If you run in the store and blow some lady's brains out because you're trying to rob it, smoke him. If you're fucking killing 10 people and just can't stop, smoke him. It just makes sense. You know, I've been to Florida State Prison. There's people in there that shouldn't be breathing. There's people in there that should never come home. And for anyone that's been to prison, yeah, you can say that. You know, you've seen people that have fucked people and there's no fixing them. Same as dogs. You got certain dogs that just can never function. They're going to bite. They're going to bark. You got to keep them in a cage. You got to get rid of them. You got to put them down. It's the same shit.
Right, but here's the flip side of this, and I actually looked it up. Since 1973, at least 200 people were sentenced to death that ended up exonerated.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that there was 200 people they thought had done some heinous crimes, which ultimately they found out they didn't actually do those things and escape the death penalty. They would have all been put to death for something they didn't do.
I mean, there's a ton of people that have been put to death for things they didn't do, especially during the Jim Crow era and with racism. You know, Emmett Till. You can look at that situation. You know what I mean? A white lady made up a lie and they killed him in a horrific way. The thing is, you either allow people to breathe that shouldn't have that ability, knowing that innocent people are going to suffer a consequence, or you just don't at all. You know what I'm saying? It's like guns, right? Like in Florida, you can have guns. In America, you can have guns. But we understand that, okay, with having guns, there's going to be school shootings. There's going to be innocent kids that get shot. There's going to be this, there's going to be that. But constitutionally, we keep the guns. There's always going to be somebody that gets fucked over. But that doesn't mean you can just let certain other people keep breathing. It just shouldn't happen. That's just my opinion, though. But yeah, I believe in the death penalty.
Yeah, it was interesting when I just did an interview with Wack, and we brought up the story that he was familiar with. It was about Big U's brother getting killed. You know about this at all?
No.
You should do a video on this because it's a very, very intriguing story. So Big U's brother, his younger brother, his name was Draws. He was Corrupt's bodyguard. And a situation happened with this Mexican dude. I'm not sure if he's white or Mexican. His name is Timothy Joseph McGee, a.k.a. the Monster of Atwater. He has been responsible for at least 12 homicides. He's considered one of the 20 most notorious killers in the history of California. They put him up there with Charles Manson, the Golden State Killer, and the Night Stalker.
Mm.
But this guy here was killing everybody, including Big U's brother. He's gotten the death penalty, plus 75 years to life, but I guess it's getting overturned somehow, but he's going to be resentenced, but he's still in prison. But it's just a very, very crazy story. He was part of a gang called the Tunerville Reefa 13. And yeah, it's just a very, very insane story of this guy. This guy really was out there killing everyone, trying to kill cops, the whole nine. What exactly is the story with this guy? Have you heard about him?
Yo, you gotta remember, he come from that era. You know, that's the late 80s, 90s era, bro. And that's why I tell a lot of these youngsters who be popping it, I'm like, yo, bro, the things you doing because of the myths and stories you heard from those before you. And I don't know why they think that people have forgotten how to do what they know how to do. You know, it's a struggle with me daily, you know, to ignore a lot of things because I come from that era. And in that era, getting busy was norm. It wasn't a surprise that these dudes did that. Back then, you know.
I seen a guy, I never spoke to him, when I was at Appalachia CI. It's a prison in North Florida. It's a very fucked up prison. And while I was there was murders, there was rapes, there was all type of shit. The story that I told you that went viral of the kid that was told on the toilet to turn around and don't even wipe, that was at Appalachia CI. So when I was in our dorm, I was in I-4. This is a closed custody dorm. This is the highest custody you can have while still in general population. In I-1, there was somebody from Miami that I knew, and he was housed by himself. He had a cell to himself because he had an MIP, a murder in prison. He killed somebody. So he can only be housed with someone else that has an MIP. Another guy came, and this guy used to be on death row, and they overturned his sentence. So now he just has life. And the happiness that this man had being on a compound, knowing he'll never come home, was crazy. Because you would have thought he was free. But this dude's fucking boys, robbing people, stabbing shit. He's living wild. But that he was happy in that. Because he thought he was going to die. In death row, it's a cell by yourself. They still get cigarettes in there. They get a TV to themselves, whatever. But, yeah, this dude was just happy as fuck to be on a compound, victimizing people, doing whatever the fuck he's doing. And that's his life. And he's happy living that way. They could have smoked him. Nobody would have lost nothing.
Yeah, I thought the story you told me about the whole, you know, get off the toilet, don't wipe, or I'll stab you. I thought that was the craziest prison story I heard. But being in my line of work, Lil Diesel, who his first interview I did with Terrence Gangster Williams. I don't know if you know about this whole story. They were like arch enemies, and now they're like best friends, and they live together.
Yeah, I seen it.
But what Diesel said, locked up in Attica, he said there was a guy there whose boyfriend was his son. His punk was his son. And his excuse was, well, I didn't grow up around him, so I didn't really know him. And if anyone's going to do it, it might as well be me. There is a man in prison,
Yes.
and his son
It's for him.
is his punk.
Yes.
So he has sex with his own son.
You see, before you let anybody else do it, you might as well have him.
He said before anyone else can have him, I'm going.
Oh yeah, he gonna be for me. Yes, that's true.
I really want to throw up right now.
That's true.
Yeah, that's see, death penalty. Smoke him. Get him. We don't need him. That doesn't need to be around anymore. Like, that's fucked. Shit's just crazy, bro. Like, we had the big punk in Florida State Prison, Mama Herc. And he's like a prison legend. He supposedly died in like the 80s or the 90s. But they said dude would fucking grab you by the throat, hold you up, and suck your dick.
Whoa.
Yeah. Mama Herc. And I did a whole video on this dude, this big Haitian dude, and they said he got killed by a little Puerto Rican on the weight yard. That he was like benching. And there's two stories. One was that he got stabbed in the chest. The other one was that he got hit in the head with a plate. But he got killed. Mm-hmm. And Mama Herc is, you can Google him, he's a Florida prison legend. Big old punk. So it's just like, prison's a fucked place, bro. But when you meet people like that, or hear about people like that, it's like, yeah, nobody would miss you if you died. And you're not bringing nothing to the table. You're not bringing any positivity to the planet. You might as well just go on to whatever comes after.
Oh, yeah. Certain people, I feel, should be taken out of the gene pool. Like, there's this interesting story I read recently where these two guys, these two friends, bought some Kevlar masks, essentially, and decided to shoot themselves in the head to see what would happen. The first guy that shot his friend in the head killed him. And now he's facing murder charges. And I just feel like these two not being allowed to reproduce is a good thing.
Yeah, and then also the business that makes the mask just went out of business because that clearly didn't fucking work. But yeah, that's fucking stupid.
Stupid, just absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I mean, I feel sorry, but I don't feel sorry. Like, who would do that? Like, who would sit there? Yeah, shoot me in the head. Let's see what happens. Let's go viral.
But you know what?
I'm dead now.
My personal opinion is there's never been a mistake with a school shooter. They've never got the wrong guy, right? Every time somebody gets arrested for shooting up a school, they got them dead to rights and there's a conviction. They should be killed within the same month. There shouldn't be a waiting period.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give a fuck if you only killed one kid. You went to a school, you shot a gun, kill them. That's it. Whatever parents, send them an invite if they want to watch. But he should be dead within the next month of that trial being completed.
No one's getting alive right now makes no sense.
No one's getting exonerated. Nobody's beating school shoot. No. If you do that, you immediately die after. I think that's something that should be fucking established.
Yeah, just fast track it.
Yeah, speed pass.
Have a special clause for school shootings that basically bumps everyone else's trials after his.
Like how they got when you go to a theme park, they got the speed pass. Yeah.
Right, the speed pass.
Yeah, you go from the courtroom to the execution chamber and then into the ground, and that's it.
Well, a big story that just worked its way out was Ksoo's father testifying against him, and Ksoo ultimately being found guilty of the murder. And he hasn't been sentenced yet, has he?
No.
Okay, but I mean, a calculated murder probably is going to be life.
Yeah,
right?
he's gone.
Yeah, and this is Jacksonville, so it's Florida once again.
When I was in prison, I never met anyone from Jacksonville that had less than 10 years.
Huh.
All of them are doing shootings, murders. Like Jacksonville, it's the biggest city in Florida, and it's always held the murder capital.
What's your take about his father testifying against him?
That's fucked, bro. That's your own kid, and not for nothing, you were his example. You were who he looked up to. If you know, what pissed me off the most was he said his reason for testifying was that he has younger kids that miss him. And if you were a father to Queso, you wouldn't have to testify against him and use the excuse that you want to be a father to your other kids. If you were a father to Ksoo, Ksoo wouldn't be in the position that he's in. But you want to be a father now. And this isn't his first time snitching either. He snitched back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But you've always wanted to live this street life, etc., etc. You just put your kid away. And if your kid did it, whatever. Right? If he deserves to be in there and that's people's opinions, whatever. But the fact of the matter is you were supposed to be a fucking father. And you failed. And you put your own son away for life. I would never want to live with that.
Look, you followed the case. Do you think that if Ksoo's dad didn't take the stand, that Ksoo would have walked free?
I think it played a significant role in the case. Because his father was called and was essentially the getaway driver.
Yeah.
But not for Ksoo. Ksoo allegedly ran away and the two others got picked up. Because they did the shooting and then fled the scene because a cop was in the parking lot and then broke into a lady's house, took her hostage, changed their clothes into her husband's clothes, called the dad picked them up, and that's how they got away. So it's like the only other person that was testifying besides police and investigators was the kid that drove y'all. Well, he's trying to save himself. You know what I mean? He played a significant role. But Ksoo's dad identifying his own son and saying, yeah, I heard about his reputation and all that shit. That's crazy, bro.
You have kids,
Yeah.
right? You have a daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your daughter calls you up after this interview and said, Dad, I just killed somebody.
All right.
What do you do? What do you do in that situation?
Taking the body? The fuck? Yeah. All right. Where are you at? Where is it? Okay. We're going to figure it out.
So you would help her to get away?
Yeah. My daughter?
Okay. So you would put yourself in the same situation that Ksoo's dad would be in?
No. No, because I don't think his dad knew. I don't think he knew. I think that's what he tried to say is he didn't know what he was walking into. He just thought he was picking them up. No, if my daughter told me that something crazy happened, yeah, I would take her side.
So Ksoo's dad, Abdul Robinson Sr., pleaded guilty to 2 counts of accessory after the fact to first-degree murder.
Mm-hmm.
So these are 2 separate murders. So in terms of the murder of Charles McCormick Jr. in 2020, Abdul Robinson Sr. admitted to helping Leroy Whitaker and Dominique Barner escape after the shooting. His son, Ksoo, was identified as the shooter and has since been convicted of the murder. Then there's the murder of Damon Rothermill in 2019. Robinson Sr. was initially charged with solicitation to commit murder in this case, but the charge was dropped as part of the plea deal. Huh. In exchange for his testimony, Robinson Sr. received a reduced sentence and a cap on his maximum prison time. He stated in court that he cooperated due to failing health and a desire to be released in time to spend time with his younger children. So there's 2 different murders that he's involved in. So he's charged with solicitation to commit murder for hire and to help Leroy Whitaker and Dominic Barner. So he didn't help his own son escape. The 2 co-conspirators escape.
Right.
Aha.
I think that anybody would attempt to help their own family, right? Like you got cases where it'll be a cop and his son throws a party and some kid overdoses and they try to finagle something to make it look a little better, pull favors in the courts, and, you know, the kid ends up getting probation, right? You know what I mean? I think anybody would be naturally inclined to try to help their own family. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to mask up and go do a drill with my fucking 7-year-old daughter, but if she found herself in a situation, I would be there for her. You know what I'm saying? Because at the same time, I'm pretty sure you have a daughter as well.
Yeah.
Would you take life on her behalf?
I don't know about that one.
Why is that?
I don't know about that one. Because I feel that ultimately people have to be responsible for their own actions. Now, at the end of the day, if my one of my kids, and I have multiple kids, if they came to me and told me that this was their involvement, I would get them the best lawyer I could possibly get. If that meant selling off a house, selling off stocks, whatever, I would call up Drew Finling and I would say, yo, I need a favor. Let me know how much it costs. I'm sending you the retainer right now, or I'm sending you the full amount. You can't send a retainer for a murder case.
Right.
And I would get them the best possible defense that I could buy. But I would not break the law and try to help them escape and end up with an accessory after the fact. I would not do that.
Well, she calls you first, right?
Yes.
Dad, come to where I'm at. I need you. It's an emergency. You show up. You walk in the room.
Yes.
There's a body. There's a weapon. There's whatever. There's drugs. You're not going to touch nothing.
Nothing.
Really?
No. I'm not implicating myself into someone else's murder, even if it's my own child.
But
no,
now is there something in which if somebody did something and victimized one of your own kids that you would do something to them? Because Cain Velasquez, the UFC fighter, something happened to his son, and he went after the dude and shot at the dude. And he ended up getting prison time. And he got an amazing deal because Dana White, the president of the UFC, funded his legal team.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the capability to take life or attempt to take life on behalf of your child, then I would think that you would also have the ability to try to preserve theirs and keep them free. I think it falls under the same category.
I don't know if I would try to, look, at the end of the day, we're men and we get angry, right? Now, if I walked in on someone hurting one of my children, I would react at that moment.
Right.
And try to kill that person, right? At that moment. But if the story is, hey, I showed up and something happened to one of my kids and I know who did it, and I would have to go and travel to another place to go and get them, I don't think I would do that. I think that as time was starting to pass, I would say, no, we have to get law enforcement involved in this.
I think it would be dependent on the relationship, because it's like if I had a son who I failed as a father and I've lost all control and he's disobedient, he doesn't listen to anything I say, and he's a fucking crash out, and he got caught with a gun and they locked him up, and then he got out and he did some other dumb shit and they locked him up and he got out, and then I fucking get a call and he's saying, Dad, I just killed somebody. It's like, well, what the fuck do you want me to do for you? You know?
Right.
But now if the bond is, and something happened that shouldn't have, and I feel I can fucking try to, I think
No, I mean, listen, it's a tough call, right? But at the end of the day.
But I'll say this, though. It's a tough call, but for him, knowing that his son was doing this and that, and his son got revenge on their brother, on his other kid getting killed, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You're the dad. You were the one that was supposed to be the gangster. Why didn't you go kill the kid? Your son goes and gets revenge for your other son, and then you snitch on him?
Yeah, it's messed up.
That's fucked.
It's messed up, man. It's messed up. But, as I think about the situation, it's like, look, in today's day and age, with cameras everywhere, cell phone records, witnesses, people's cell phones and so forth, if I implicate myself in a crime that one of my kids did, my kid is going to get caught anyways, so I'm going to get caught right along with him? Like, no. I would rather sit there and get the best lawyer that money could buy. Like I said, and I would go broke over that. To keep my kid out of doing life in prison, I would lose everything. I would do that. But I would not be an accessory to murder after the fact. That's where I draw the line. Now, look, I walk in, like I said, and someone is hurting my child, I would probably snap.
No.
And I might kill that person. I've been in situations where I thought I'd killed people before, during the home invasion and so forth. So I know what I'm capable of. I'm capable of extreme violence when put into that mind state. And seeing my child get hurt would trigger that extreme violence. But
as it should.
getting into a car, driving somewhere to go find someone, to do something to that person, I think during the course of doing that, I would probably stop and just call the police. That's what I would do. I'm just being honest.
Well, let me, hypothetically speaking, right? Your daughter's with a guy. He took a pill. He overdoses. The pill had Fetty, whatever. She calls you, FaceTime, so they can't get the call. Dad, he took the pill. He died. There's 3 more pills in my room. I need you to flush them. If they find those pills, they're going to know I gave it to him. I'm going to get charged with his death. I'm flushing the fucking pills, bro. Immediately.
Yeah.
Crush them,
well,
flush them. That's it.
I'll tell you a real story. I'm not going to say the names, right? But someone who I personally know, an older gentleman, he went on a family vacation with his adult daughter and her boyfriend, right? The boyfriend, I guess early in the relationship, had some drug issues and so forth, which he allegedly got over maybe a year ago. But during this particular vacation, they all went to dinner. They went back. The boyfriend wakes up and he's dead. He doesn't wake up, actually.
I was about to say, he woke up dead.
Yeah. I said it a little bit wrong, but yeah. The next morning, the daughter wakes up and the boyfriend is dead, right? This is a grown man, right, in his 30s or something. They call the ambulance comes, gets him, tries to revive him, he's dead. They go through his things, and they find what appears to be like white powder or whatever else. They dump it all. Now, the guy's already dead, but he dumps it all because he doesn't want his daughter involved in whatever else. He just doesn't want anything to do with it. So, yeah, in that situation, if I knew there were some pills and she lived with me, yeah, I'd probably dump those pills. And I guess I am kind of creating myself to be an accessory, but then again, how do you ever prove that? There's no way to really track that. Unless I have cameras in my home and there's a video of me flushing the pills, then yeah. But yeah, I would do that. But would I help her get rid of the body? Would I help her escape the country and so forth? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even know what to do in a situation like that. All I'm going to do is implicate myself into a murder or a potential death of some sort. I'm not going to do that. I'm 52 years old. Like, I've done my best with my kids. I will help them, but I'm not going to take the responsibility for their poor decisions. So when my kids watch this, just know what your dad is about. Well, you've accused of Larry Hoover of snitching.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Larry Hoover, they walked into his high school and shot him and I believe 2 other people. And he told the police who did it. And they went and arrested those 2 guys.
Okay. Why has this never really come up in terms of Larry Hoover's story?
Well, 1, it happened in like 1968 or some shit. And 2, people don't want it to come up. They don't want it to be the truth. I had a ton of people DMing me, we gonna do this, we gonna do that. This, that, and the third. You can't come to Chicago. You can't come here, come there, whatever. But it's like, if all of y'all are willing to slide, why don't one of y'all slide to the courthouse and get the paperwork to prove that he didn't do it? Nobody wants to, nobody wants to do that. So it's like, it is what it is. They try to say, oh, it ain't fake. A newspaper wrote that. And we can't believe the news because, back then, white people made black people sound like anything and they wanted to take away Hoover's power. Hoover was like 18 when this happened.
Right.
So I don't even think he had the power people are talking about. He's still in high school. And then not for nothing, one of the victims that got shot came out and said, oh, Hoover never told on me. He was never even involved in my case, this and that, da-da-da. None of that was true because I have the state witness list and Larry Hoover's name is on it. Then the guy that got shot tried to say the other guy, he didn't even get shot. Both of them got charged with it, with the shooting. Both of them were convicted for the shooting. I got all of that. But he lied about it. And then not for nothing, the same guy that tried to clear Hoover's name is a fucking federal cooperator. He went down and snitched in a Fed case. He don't want to get murdered because he's still in Chicago. He ain't going to speak against Hoover and he's in Chicago. Nah, they're going to kill him. It doesn't matter if he's 60, 70 years old. He knows better, but he tried to lie. And that ain't it.
Yeah, Hoover was 18 at the time. He was the leader of the Supreme Gangsters.
Mm-hmm.
And he got shot in the leg himself.
Yeah, Hoover got shot and some other people got shot that were behind him.
Yeah. So 2 rival gang members from the East Side Disciples, James Highsmith and Leonard Longstreet, were identified by Hoover as the shooters. 2 other students were also injured. And a newspaper article confirmed that Hoover told the police who shot him.
Exactly. They tried
he was a teenager at the time.
They tried to say the newspaper lied. All right, so why didn't the Hoover family sue? Why didn't they sue me? If I said something that ain't, if I'm destroying a reputation. It's in the fucking Chicago Tribune. When I requested the fucking paperwork on this shit, they had to use a machine that hasn't been used in like 30 years. Like, they told me. They're on the phone telling, we got to dust this fucking thing off. And then they sent me the shit. You know what I mean? I couldn't get everything. But one of the things that I do have is the state witness list. And Larry Hoover's name is on it. There's no disputing it. Now, if somebody wants to go there in person and see what they can get, go for it. But nobody wants to. Jeff Ford, whatever his name is. I think he's the leader of the P Stones.
Yeah,
he snitched. And everybody knows he snitched. It's in one of the people involved. He took the fucking police to the ops block and said, ride with me. Watch, they gonna shoot at me. And that's what happened. He told. So it's like the very founders of the gangs that tear through cities, the very founders that created the laws that everyone's supposed to abide by for the next 30, 40 years, they told. And they're the ones that created it. So that's why I asked in my YouTube video, what does it mean? Is there a code when it comes to the people that created the code breaking it? What does that mean? Was it not snitching because it was in the 60s and the code wasn't official yet? What is the excuse that's going to be given? Because you got all these dick riders DMing me about Hoover and he don't know who the fuck they are. They've never even met him. He's been in prison for how many years? Nobody knows him, but you're just clinging on to the myth. That's all it is. It's a fucking myth. He was gone, I think, at 23 years old in prison and never came back out.
Yeah, Larry Hoover started his prison bid in 1973, the year I was born.
Okay, then.
He's been in prison for over 50 years.
Right.
He is 74 years old. Jeff Fort is 78 years old.
Yeah.
Still in prison. We'll see if they get out or not. Well, I mean, Jeff Fort is not, scheduled to get out, but Hoover got a pardon, a federal pardon by Trump.
Yeah, and then they sent him to state prison.
But there's a whole state case where he's like double life or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Larry Hoover has publicly denounced his affiliation with the Gangster Disciples.
Well, they haven't denounced their affiliation with him.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you had grown men crying because they thought he was coming home. You had King Yella's funky ass dancing around. So it's like, but the fucking newspaper said he told. The witness list said he's a fucking witness.
But once again, what I said near the start of this interview, if you have guys that have been doing crimes for multiple years, there's probably some cooperation sprinkled in there along the way. And you've given me 2 more examples of this. 2 guys that are considered triple OGs. The founders of everything that's going on gang-wise in Chicago right now. Jeff Fort and Larry Hoover. These were powerful figures who could bring hundreds of people out.
And I'm gonna send you the paperwork of this. So as we speak, you can have it on the screen. so people can visualize what we're talking about. Because Jeff
send it to
Ford
me.
took the police and said, yo, y'all come with me. They're going to shoot at me on this block. And that's exactly how it played out. So it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, motherfuckers got to rethink who they look up to, because the founders ain't right.
Yeah. But I'm sure a lot of these people are looking at this going, well, yeah, I kind of told myself a little bit here and there too. So, whatever. That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Well, Skila Baby. He got shot at over 25 times during this one incident on 8 Mile in Detroit.
Yeah.
He survived. How many times did he actually get shot himself? Well, no, I see. He got grazed in the head and the back, then shot in the hand, and he ended up crashing. Now, his main op, GMO Stacks, got arrested a couple days later. What's the whole story behind this?
I'm not really sure. Detroit is a place that is very hard to cover because all the little cliques that they have. It's not like traditional gang names. It's all just cliques and shit, kind of like New York. But he's been involved in some shit before. He got shot once before. And I guess they went after him again. And he got hit up.
Yeah? Yeah, so they're saying that the conflict was this guy GMO Stacks, who was part of DWBI. Don't worry about it. In 2022, a studio altercation happened with GMO Stacks and others, resulting in Skila Baby getting shot and robbed of 2 of his chains. And this guy Stacks started flaunting the chains online. Why do people still do this in 2025? Well, I mean, this is 2022, but still, in the 2020s, you rob someone and then you show off what you robbed on the internet. Who still does this? How do you think this is going to work out?
They want attention. They want clout.
That'd be like me stealing a car from the car dealership and saying, look at the car I just stole, everybody.
They just took Finesse 2 times car in Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went there and did a music video. They stole his SRT and started recording videos inside of it saying they wanted money for the shit back. And I think he got it back. I think I saw a post today saying he got the car back. So he must have, dropped some money to get his shit back. But yeah, people take shit, record themselves with it, and then want to sell it back to you.
Okay, so after the chains got stolen and flaunted online, there were multiple fight videos that got circulated, including Skila Baby confronting some of his rivals.
And he was beating their ass, too. Skilla can fight.
Yeah.
I couldn't put that shit on the YouTube videos, but Skilla be beating ass.
So Skilla exposed GMO Stacks' legal troubles, such as being arrested for criminal sexual conduct. Stacks accused Skilla of being soft and police affiliated, and there was diss tracks and Instagram posts back and forth. And with this whole situation, GMO Stacks is now the prime suspect in the shooting. Man, if I had public beef with you, the last thing I would do is go shoot at you.
No.
That'd be like the last thing I would even think of. Because I'd be the prime suspect.
Exactly.
I'm going to get caught. Why do you think Skila Baby... Well, I mean, look, Skila Baby still lives, he grew up in Detroit and so forth, but hanging around 8 Mile, this whole area, it just seems reckless.
It wasn't that he was hanging out. He went to a prom, or like a prom party for a football player out there. And 8 Mile is long as shit. It, leaves Detroit. So he went to some prom party out there and was on his way back. And that's apparently how he got caught, because they allegedly said somebody at the party dropped his location, and the shooters went there and then followed him back. And that's how they caught him on 8 Mile.
Well, whoever dropped that location is going to prison as well. I mean, we saw that whole situation with the Fulio murder. Remember that girl is now... she was supposed to already start a trial, but it got pushed back because I think one of the prosecutors got sick or something like that. But yeah, you involve yourself in a shooting or a murder, you think that, you have nothing to do with it just because you sent the location of someone, you will be completely part of that case.
Yeah. You didn't hear about Swifty Blue?
I did hear about this.
Man, Swifty Blue, the Mexican mafia tried to take him out, right? Mm-hmm. They made a call in jail. Dude called this other dude's mom and was like, yo, or I think it was his own mom, and was like, look this guy up and let me know if he's good or not. I'm going to call you again tomorrow. Calls her the next day, and the mom, who's like 60-something years old or some shit, says he's no good. And for that right there, Swifty Blue got stabbed in his cell, and that mom got indicted on the federal RICO with the Mexican mafia because she picked up her phone, looked dude up, and then said he's no good. And the whole time, Swifty Blue never even snitched. I think she called someone else or something, and they told her, but she was just passing the word back and forth. Probably didn't even know what the fuck she was really doing. But she got a call again and said he's no good, and now she's indicted with the Mexican mafia over the attempted murder of Swifty Blue.
Right, because 19 Mexican mafia members are connected to this case.
Well, it's members and associates, so not everyone is an actual member, but you know how they spin it.
My thing is, why would you have 19 people involved in something this serious?
Because of how much communication has to be done. So you had people from the jails communicating with people from the streets, communicating with people from the prisons, and word was getting passed to and from. And everybody that acted as, you know, game of telephone, they all got indicted for it. And they still didn't even kill him.
Yeah.
He was just in Miami living his best life. So it's like, that shit's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't really, like, conceptually, I don't know how you would pull off a murder involving anybody else and get away with it.
I don't know. I mean, when it comes to prison and jail, you know, shit usually gets done. And majority of the time, nobody gets away with it. And the thing about the Mexican mafia is they flourish in prison. A lot of these guys are never coming home to begin with. But the whole thing with Swifty Blue was it started because Swifty was allegedly fucking a girl who was the niece of a Mexican mafia member. And this member was allegedly telling Swifty Blue, like, yo, you're good, but you got to kick back to the situation. You got to, you know, you got to donate, whatever. So allegedly there was an argument. Swifty was like, yo, fuck you, I'm not doing nothing. You know what I mean? And that is what got him greenlit. It really wasn't a valid reason. It's not like he snitched on someone or did some extreme act of betrayal. He was just like, man, I'm not going for that shit. And they greenlit him. And now 19 people are getting taken down over the attempt on one person.
Did you and I ever talk about the murders that occurred over the American Me movie by the Mexican Mafia, allegedly?
I don't know if we talked about it, but I watched the interview of you and Danny Trejo.
Right. Mexican Mafia is not a crew that you fuck with.
No.
So, you know, you already know the story, but I'm just going to retell it for the audience. In the movie American Me, and Danny Trejo, the actor who was affiliated with the Mexican Mafia certain parts of his life, confirmed this story. There was a scene in the movie American Me, which was based on the Mexican Mafia founders. There was a scene when one of the main leaders goes to juvenile hall. He gets raped by another boy the first night, and he ends up killing the guy that same night. The Mexican Mafia was so upset over this scene because you can't have a Mexican Mafia leader who got his manhood taken by another man. That's just considered just a no-no. So to show a scene like that falsely depicts one of the founders of this serious organization, everyone associated with the movie had a green light on him. 10 people were killed around this film, and Edward James Olmos, the main actor and I think the director and the writer of the film, had a hit put on him for years. For years. But 10 people that really didn't have anything to do with this shit ended up getting killed. These are like extras, consultants. Like they didn't say, oh yeah, put a rape scene in there. That would be good. Like they probably had nothing to do with this shit. But the Mexican Mafia was so upset that 10 people were murdered.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very serious organization. I'm not saying anything against them. Just from what I've read and learned about the situation with Swifty Blue, the guy that put his name in that hat to get greenlit, I think made a decision off of emotion that he shouldn't have, because it resulted in 19 people, including himself, being indicted by the feds over a situation that really didn't have to do with the gang. So,
yeah. Well, the Rod Wave situation is interesting. Rod Wave was arrested for shooting up his girlfriend's car on camera after the police actually find the video of the shooting.
yeah.
So, in May 13, 2025, police executed a search warrant at Rod Wave's mansion where they find the surveillance footage related to a prior burglary and shooting. Footage shows a broken window suggesting a burglary. Rod Wave's realtor, another realtor, viewed the property, and later Rod Wave and his girlfriend and associate arrived. An argument broke out between Rod and the girl, which escalated into him firing 14 shots from a Glock 20 into her Mercedes G-Wagon. His associate continued to loading items while unfazed, while the girl, Minnie Barbie, fled to a neighbor's house and called her mother and the police. Rod Wave and associate were attempted to cover up the scene, collecting shell casings, closing the garage, and moving the vehicles. The SUV was disabled after hitting a staircase, so they fled on foot.
Is that
this
it?
is a crazy-ass story.
Wait. Is that it? There's one more detail you're missing.
Okay, hold on. There are more details. Evidence recovered from the scene. Bullet holes, shell casings, a handgun, a broken pool window, a hammer, shot up luxury cars. Police allege the Rod tried to alter the crime scene, escape undetected. He broke a fence while fleeing. Is that what you're talking about?
Bro, if they got the fucking video of Rod Wave's big ass jumping the fence and breaking it,
The whole fence falling over.
you
Rod
got
Wave
damaged
was
the
arrested on
property
13...
because you cracked the fence trying to get away
break
from the
the
whole
fence.
fucking thing.
Right. Rod Wave was arrested on 13 charges, including aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, criminal damage to property, obstruction of law enforcement, tampering with evidence, conspiracy to commit a felony. Now he's being represented by my man, Drew Finling, who say that Rod Wave was a victim of the burglary and committed no crimes. He argued the charges are baseless and will be dismissed. Now, you looked into this. What do you think?
I think his lawyer is going to make that shit happen.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, he don't fuck off. I just think it's fucking hysterical that he jumped the fence and fucking broke it. That was funny as fuck, but if it ain't true, it ain't true. The thing is, he wasn't, if he did it, he wasn't trying to shoot anybody, you know? He just threw a fit. Nobody got hurt. I don't think she got threatened. And I'm pretty fucking sure they're back fucking anyways. So, you know, it is what it is. With a lawyer like that, I'm pretty sure the case is going to go away.
Yeah, but firing 14 shots?
It's Florida. You can shoot guns in your house.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to, you know, the neighbors are supposed to be a certain couple feet away. I don't know how close his neighbors are, but you can shoot guns at your house in Florida.
Yeah? Yeah, I mean, look, you got a hell of a lawyer.
There's no law that says you can't shoot your own car.
So that was his car that he shot up.
Or maybe it was her. He paid for it. She didn't. What the fuck is she known for? She don't have money. He's the money. He's built like a money bag. It's about raw
Actual
weight.
bag
You
of
know what I'm
money.
saying? Like, yeah, it's his shit. He shot his own shit up. Fuck it.
Yeah? Yeah. It's a crazy situation, man. This is why if you have guns in the house, I mean, only use them if your life is in danger. That's how I look at it. I'm not just going to be randomly shooting off my gun just because I'm mad at somebody or whatever. So were they trying to rob him? Is that what? because that's what Drew Finley is saying, that he was a victim of a burglary.
What it's saying was they broke into his shit, and they took his shit, and then I guess he arrived at the scene and was like, fuck. You know what I'm saying? And I guess an argument broke out between him and Shorty.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, with Drew Finley on the case, he's got a real chance. He's got a real chance. Well, Tory Lanez, he's up on appeal right now, but it seems like certain things that he tried to appeal have been thrown out.
Right.
So that part is not working. Is he still have parts of his appeal that might go through, or is it pretty much done in terms of appeals?
I think it got clapped, and I don't think he's going to get out on appeal.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I actually ran into his dad recently.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It went decent. It went decent because, we were like in I'm not going to say where, but it was like a kid's kind of place.
Okay.
Right? So there's like children and families around. So it's not like we were going to sit there and argue with each other in an environment like that. But it was like basically he was there with like another guy and I think some kids. And the guy approached me to talk to me about doing some other stuff. He goes, oh, Tory Lanez's dad is here. Do you want to meet him? And I'm like, sure, why not? Why not? So we were introduced, and I kept it 100 with him. I said, listen, he goes, I said, listen, I've said some things about Tory, publicly. Ultimately, I'm not happy where he is right now. I hope he does get out. But, my point was that if he really didn't do it, that he should have cooperated. He should have taken the stand. Me personally, I'm not going to go to prison over some girl that I just met doing a shooting. Right? Because, he couldn't really do that. I said, I understand. But, I kept it honest with him. Like, I wasn't going to be like, oh, yeah, free Tory. I'm his #1 fan. You got a great, no, I'm not going to do that. So it was respectful. We exchanged numbers. We haven't talked or anything since then, because I think he was talking about possibly doing an interview. And I'm like, listen, if you're, I will give you a platform. If you want to come to VladTV to talk about your son, I will give you that platform. In fact, if your son wants to come on VladTV, people think I have some sort of weird grudge against Tory. I don't. The only thing with me is what I've always said was based on what I'm seeing with the evidence, with the victim taking the stand, with the overall situation, he's going to go to prison. And I was right. And people are like, oh, you hate Tory, I don't hate Tory. I called what was going to happen.
I mean, that's just how the internet is, bro, because it's like, with this Young Thug situation, when I make a video, if I say he's a rat, they're going to say I hate all fucking rappers. If I say I don't think he's a rat, they're going to say I got paid off. So it's like, it just is what it is. I mean, you stuck to your beliefs and what you thought about the situation. And it's dope that y'all were able to have a cordial conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my whole thing was I wasn't going to sit there and be a different person around his father.
No, I respect that.
I was respectful.
Right.
But I stated my position.
Right.
And I think he ultimately respected that as well.
He should.
And ultimately, he has my number. Once he sees this, he can call me if he wants and so forth. And look, at the end of the day, what happened to him in prison with the stabbing, I thought was heinous.
That shit was crazy.
It was heinous. That guy tried to kill him.
Yeah.
For real. And, look, what's interesting is I had Freeway Ricky on my show recently, and he's tied into the prisons, right, because of who he is. And Wack told me one version of the story, but what Freeway told me was that, in fact, from everything that he heard from people on the inside at that prison, that it really came from, Tory was flirting with the girlfriend of one of the other inmates.
Mm.
And the actual black gangs in that prison gave that Mexican dude a green light to go stab up Tory.
Damn.
Because they felt that, yes, okay, yeah, he's one of us, he's black, but more so than that, there are certain rules that we function here, and if he violated the rules, then you can go ahead and handle your business.
That's wild.
Yeah, man. I mean, it seems like all of Tory's problems are all centered on women.
Yeah, and he hasn't learned that yet. But I don't know. Maybe all that knife play taught him a lesson.
Yeah. But what you're saying is that his appeal is done. He's not getting out.
I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna. As far as can he keep trying, I don't know. I don't know how it is in California. I know in Florida, there's a certain point where you run out of appeals, and then you're pretty much just barred from the courts. So.
Yeah. Well, and I remember hearing his lawyers speak about the situation. They're like, yeah, so what happened was Kelsey was shooting the gun, and Tory hit her elbow, and the gun fell and fired off 2 more times. I'm like, a gun falls and fires off 2 times? I have never heard of this.
Yeah, unless it was a SIG, like the ones that go off in people's holsters and shit, and cops shoot themselves by accident. Unless it was one of those.
2 times? 2 times, though?
Is crazy. 2 times
2
is
times.
Crazy. I ain't gonna lie.
How so what? It hit something on the ground that pulled the trigger twice? Like what?
Yeah.
Like come on now.
Unless it had a switch and there was only 2 shots left and it just.
Okay, yeah. If it was a switch, but it wasn't a switch from what I. Well,
and see, that's the thing is just the appeals just come up with more and more shit that just doesn't make sense, and that's why they keep getting dubbed. It's like, homie, you just got to do that bid. That's it.
Yeah. Or you should have taken the stand if you really didn't do it. And look, I've interviewed people like Hurricane Chris who had murder charges who took the stand.
Right.
And me and him had a serious talk about this on camera. I said, what did your lawyer tell you about taking the stand? Because a lot of times in murder cases, your lawyer tells you not to take the stand. And his answer was, I didn't care what my lawyer was saying. I did not kill this person on purpose. This was self-defense, and I was not going to leave the rest of my life into someone else's hands.
Oh no, I knew I was gonna talk from day one. It was never a thought in my mind of silencing me. This is my life. I know exactly what happened. I mean, my lawyer is a terrific lawyer, and he did an amazing job, Alex Washington, but at the end of the day, I had to get up there and say my part, bro. I couldn't just put everything in their hands like that. I gotta look these people in their eyes because my life is in their hands. I want to talk directly to these people and see if they could see I'm not no lying ass nigga right now. You understand what I'm saying?
But I think the difference was he didn't have someone else that could be blamed, and Tory didn't want to be portrayed as a snitch. Tory got exactly what he wanted. He has the image now of a gangster. You're in California State Prison. You got the shit stabbed out of you and you survived. You know, that's essentially what you wanted. I don't know if it has to do with the height complex or whatever it is, but if you want to go that route, live that route. But the thing is, he's on SNY yards, so he's not in GP. And I don't know, that's the route you chose, bro.
Yeah, look, I hope at some point he does get out. I feel that whatever lesson Tory needed to learn, I feel like he's learned it.
I would hope so, after getting stabbed that many times.
After this stabbing and after doing this prison time, I feel like he's learned the lesson that he's learned. And, but I guess you can't really be considered a gangster because you're being charged with shooting a girl. That's not no gangster shit.
I mean, none of it's gangster shit. The fact that you got the shit stabbed out of you and nobody did anything about it shows that they don't really fuck with you. And then unless you're going to go do something about it, it's just, it's the whole thing about trying to be gangster is like, why the fuck are you that age still trying to be gangster?
Yeah.
You had all the money, all the women. Like, you could have just left it at that, bro. That's what everybody in that prison wants. The money and the women. The freedom. You traded all that to be in there with them.
Yeah. Well, look, I think the thing with Tory, because my man Carl Kanai came over yesterday. We were chopping it up, and his name came up. And it's just like, I think what had happened was Tory felt because the internet and social media was behind him, that would translate into the courtroom and the jury. He's looking online and everyone's like, free Tory, Megan's a liar, free Tory, free Tory, Tory's about to come home. And he was like feeling all that energy and all that love. And it's still there. Like people still are like, free Tory, Drake says it. You know what I mean? Like big people, Aiden Ross says it. And you're feeling like, yeah, everyone knows I'm going to win. Everyone knows I'm going to win. And I remember the day before, I think the verdict, he's like, yeah, I'm going to show y'all how powerful my God is. And when I show you, all of you will bow to me or something like that. It was like one of these, like, I'm definitely winning and watch what happens. And he lost. Guilty. Unanimous decision. All 12 jurors.
Well, maybe that's his God humbling him. Sitting him down to learn. So I'm being serious. Like, sometimes that's how things happen, bro. Sometimes you have to sit down and go through some traumatic shit to learn what you need to learn, you know? I went to prison when I was 18. I learned a lot of shit that I should have learned from a father that wasn't there. You know? So when my face got cut and I had blood all over me, yeah, it was an eye-opening experience. Just hopefully he comes out better than how he went in.
What happened to your dad?
Just wasn't there. You know what I mean? I got sent down to Florida. That was the end of that.
Have you been in contact with him since then?
A couple times, but, you know, he fell into drugs and alcohol and just everything kind of fucked off, you know what I mean? So I think now he's disabled. Not that long ago, he was in a shelter, you know? So it's just, when you go years without contact, it kind of kills the relationship. So it's, you know, I needed to learn a lot of things that I didn't know, and I had to learn a lot of those things in prison. And then even when I came home, I was still on dumb shit. Caught another case after that. So hopefully, especially if he does have a belief in God, hopefully he can see the cockiness and all of that is what needs to get humbled. And he just takes the time to recreate himself and his way of thinking.
Well, Lil Durk, another case that my man Drew Finling is in charge of. Prosecutors said that Lil Durk is too dangerous to be granted a bond. They're saying he's both a flight risk and a danger to the community, citing a history of offering money for killings and use of power and influence to orchestrate violence. Now, Durk's legal team countered that his lyrics, used by feds as evidence, were written months before the murder and really didn't have anything to do with anything. They offered house arrest, GPS monitoring, passport surrender, a large financial bond, but ultimately he's not getting a bond. Does that surprise you?
No.
Why is that?
Because he's accused of orchestrating a fucking assassination and flying the killers on private jets. I don't know how the fuck you going to... That's crazy. And they did it with a machine gun. That's some mobster shit right there. That's not bondable.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a rumor right now that OTF Vonnie, which is one of the core members, is allegedly cooperating. You heard about this?
I heard about it. I don't know the truth behind it, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, they're saying that he's trying to separate his case and so forth, and there's some certain paperwork that was filed, so we don't really know. But listen, I've been saying this the whole time. If Vonnie or Diddy turns on him, it's a wrap. Now, if they don't, he has a chance of beating it.
Yeah, I think he has a chance of beating it, and not only that, I think the feds are on a fucking losing streak lately. Because there's a lot of people beating fucking cases, and not for nothing, I came onto your platform with a fuck your favorite rapper shirt with Boston Richie in the interrogation room. And Boston Richie just beat his Fed case.
He did.
You know what I mean? They had him tied to mad guns and all types of crazy shit. He beat that. He got a mistrial on the weed, and I guess he got to go back for the weed, but that ain't nothing compared to what the fuck he just beat. So it's like, you know what I mean? And he had co-defendants in that case, his own brother, and I think a couple of other people. And all of them kept that shit quiet, and they beat the case.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is the feds turn to, not only the feds, but also the state, because you saw this in the YSL case. They've become cloud chasers as opposed to law enforcement.
I believe that, and I believe they're also picking people and biting off more than they can chew.
Right.
It's one thing to indict some bumfuck that gets caught with a gun and he's a felon. It's another thing to indict people that have millions of dollars and a machine behind them worth even more. Because now you're fucking with some big money. Those federal prosecutors are not getting paid the amount of money that these rappers are. So when these boys are showing up to court with 20 million behind them, it's like, yeah, let's play ball. And they're fucking spanking ass right now in the courtroom.
Yeah, this reminds me. I remember, because I'm older than you. I remember when the OJ trial happened, right?
Damn, you were around for that shit?
I was around for that shit. That happened in the early 90s, right? And at the time, my mom was working for the government, right? She worked for the Navy. She wasn't in the military, but she was like, an employee that worked for the Navy, right? So she was a government worker.
Okay.
And I remember I was talking to her, I said, how did OJ beat this case? And she said, you have the world's best lawyers that are going up against government workers. And she was a government worker. See what I'm saying? She was like, the level of expertise is not as great with us as it is with, these dream teams.
Right.
These Drew Finlings, these Brian Steeles, these Johnny Cochrans. Like I remember I was hanging out with Drew Finling, right? We were having dinner. And he had been around Johnny Cochran, right? And I said, let me ask you a question, Drew. You're a top lawyer. Was Johnny really as good as they say, or was it just hype because of the OJ case? He goes, oh, no, he really was as good as they say. And I'm like, why is that? He goes, okay, I'll give you an example. Johnny had this gift where he would get things wrong and somehow look like he was right. So let's just say that you were on the stand, right? And Johnny was cross-examining you, right? He goes, okay, now, Jake, your first name is spelled J-A-K, right? No, actually, it's J-A-K-E. Exactly! J-A-K-E. And everyone would be looking at it going like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Right?
That sounds like arguing with my girlfriend. Fucking.
You know what I'm saying? Right. He just had this way of getting it wrong and making it look like he was right the whole time. And he was just good with if it don't quit, you must have quit. Like, it's a whole, if it don't fit, you must have quit. It's like the whole thing. Some, these top lawyers, man, are brilliant, are magicians in their own way. And at the end of the day, you saw what happened with the Diddy trial. What happened to the lead prosecutor in the Diddy trial?
What did happen with that?
She got fired.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, James Comey's daughter.
Shorty, not a Fed case, but state case, the YNW case, the prosecutor got fired.
Yes.
So it's like, I think it's different now that we're seeing a lot of people worth a lot of money. And it's fucking with the reputation that the feds have because they have such a high conviction rate due to the plea deals. But you also have to understand the majority of people getting indicted do not have more than 100 grand. Probably don't have more than 20 grand. You know what I mean? And not for nothing, the feds, they punish the shit out of you. You can face a lot of time. So it's like, yeah, if you're facing 15, 20 years and they're like, we're going to give you 3, sign off, people sign off. But when you have a lot at stake and you have a lot of money to fucking play with, we're seeing cases fall apart.
Yeah, look at the Diddy case. Now, people are saying that Diddy won the case. He lost the case. He was found guilty on the prostitution charges. Now, those are the minor charges, so technically he lost, but he really won in the grand scheme of things. But the feds could say, well, that goes to our 98%. We won this as well. He was found guilty. So there's variations to this. I mean, how much time do you think Diddy's going to get?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't think he's getting that much. But I'm fucking blown away by how that played out.
I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, there's a video of me getting interviewed on a red carpet a couple days before the verdict, and I exactly say what's going to happen. So he's going to beat the RICO, he's going to beat the sex trafficking, he'll probably get hit with a prostitution charge, and there'll be a slap on the wrist. That's what I said. It's on camera.
That's crazy.
I put it out right after the verdict came out. I'm like, here you go. I called it.
What is your take on everything?
I think that Diddy really was just not really breaking the law, from my impression. It's like he was being...
Vlad!
I mean, I think he was freaky, and I think he was definitely abusive, but a RICO, I don't think so. Sex trafficking, I don't really think so. Maybe prostitution, he might get a couple years for that, but I don't think he's going to catch a major charge. At least I don't think so.
Well, let me get the fucking lottery numbers next, because...
Well, to me, it was obvious because, look, it's not a RICO. We all know that.
No, the whole
It's not
shit
a
was
RICO.
bullshit, but it's just... I'm just surprised that they're able to do shit like that and make it what it is, and when it falls apart, there's nothing that people can do to be like, nah, you just put me through mad shit, lied about all this, made something to be so much bigger than it is, everyone turned their backs on me, you gave me a fucking stigma, everyone thinks I'm this and that, I need some compensation for that shit. Because at worst, I did prostitution, oh no. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What the fuck? Compared to what the fuck they were accusing me of?
His lawyers said that he's the only man in America in jail over hiring male prostitutes.
That's crazy.
The only person right now in jail. And I've interviewed 5 of the male prostitutes. All 5 have said they were not taken advantage of, they were not trafficked, they wanted to have sex with Cassie. I mean, one of them is suing, but I think that's just a money grab. At the end of the day, come on, you're being paid to fuck a beautiful woman. Like, it's not that bad.
Yeah, you
when
just
you're
gotta
already
let him
doing
watch
it.
in the corner. That's it. Like, fuck
Yeah,
it.
that's the only weird part.
Yeah.
Right?
Just pretend
But,
he
you
isn't
know,
there.
It's not exactly, like you're not. There's worse people you could be fucking for money. I'll just say that. But look, here's the thing though, right? Because me and you could talk, but we don't have legal degrees, right? We're just talking. We're bootleg lawyers, basically. But Judge Mathis is somebody that's been on my show, and we talked about this. And he's a former Michigan judge, state judge, but still a judge. And he says something interesting, and that is, yes, although it's likely that he'll get a slap on the wrist, 2 years, whatever, but judges in this situation can look at everything that was brought up in the case, all the physical abuse, the beatings of women, the breaking into Cuddy's car, lighting it on fire, the constant beatings of Cassie as well as other employees and so forth. The judge could say, okay, I'm going to give him the maximum based on everything that's come out on the stand. Yes, he beat the RICO. Yes, he beat the sex trafficking, but there's enough heinous activity that's happened here that I'm going to give him the maximum.
Judges are people too, and he's going to try and compensate for the other things that they've seen, for the state crimes that he's seen. His mindset is going to be, I'm not letting him get away with the minimum. I'm giving him the maximum that'll compensate for the things I can't do. The things that he didn't, the things that the prosecutor didn't prove, but I think happened. The things that happened in state court, but the statute of limitations expired, so I can't prosecute him. So, he says 1 to 10 years, I think I'm going to give him 10.
It could happen.
What's the max that he's facing for the prostitution charges?
Let me see. Hold on a second. Let's look it up. I thought it was 10 years, but I might be wrong. Well, here's the thing. It's 10 years for every count of prostitution, so technically 20 years. He can get 20 years.
I don't think he's going to get 20 years.
I don't think so either, but there's a chance. Legal experts are saying between 4 and 5 years, potentially shorter, but it's all up to the judge. Now, you could appeal, but the thing about appeals that people don't always realize is that judges have specific powers, right? There are certain things that's up to a judge's discretion. You can't appeal that. If a judge, based on his discretion or her discretion, says this much time, you have to prove that something else went wrong along the way. But you can't just say, that's too much time, we want to appeal that. It doesn't work that way. You have to say that somewhere in the trial, the judge did something inappropriate that potentially changed the outcome of the trial. So the judge is giving him more time than he had hoped for. He's going to have to eat that.
Right.
We don't know. We don't know. Well, that's how we're going to end it. 1090 Jake, man, always a pleasure. Congratulations on your Europe trip. First time you went out to Europe?
Yeah, it was dope.
Could you imagine sitting in jail at 18 years old saying, one day I'm going to have a luxurious trip to Europe with my girl and go see the Mona Lisa and go to the Eiffel Tower and just live it up?
I'm going to be honest with you. I woke up and I had a little fucking coffee cup, because that's like the thing in Italy, you know, you make your coffee. And I sat on the porch of where I was staying in Positano, and I had this insane cliffside view. I can see the ocean, the yachts, the houses all the way up. Bro, I wanted to cry, because it's like I've looked out of cell windows. I've looked out of the slit in doors in confinement, and now this is my view. And it was just a beautiful moment, and I just felt so grateful for everything and everybody that supported me along the way, and people like yourself that have given me opportunities that just don't come. You know what I mean? And I was just taking it all in, bro. And it was just one of those very few moments in my life where I just sat back and was just blown away. It was just like, wow, I could have never imagined this 10 years ago.
Well, I didn't give you an opportunity. You earned the opportunity.
I appreciate that.
I didn't see you walking down the street and say, hey, here's a guy with a face tattoo. Let me put him in front of a camera. Right? It doesn't work that way.
And I think it was either one or two interviews ago. I think it was off camera. Me and you had a conversation about losing weight and working out and staying healthy. You know what I mean? And within the last 6 months, I'm down over 30 pounds. Personal trainer in the gym 5 days a week, busting my ass and fucking just getting to it, bro. I feel healthier. I feel better. People are saying I'm starting to look less like Bobby Hill, which is a fucking achievement. And I just feel good. You know what I mean? And I appreciate the advice that you give me. And a lot of it is behind closed doors, and people don't know that you're that type of guy. But I'm telling everybody, you're fucking solid, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. You should also start counting calories. That has been the best way for me to lose weight, because working out helps. You should work out. I try to work out every day myself. But I've never met anyone that's lost weight by just working out.
Right.
Everyone I know that's lost weight and has kept it off was based on their eating calorie intake.
Yep.
It's really that simple. Like, you could go into an app like MyFitnessPal, which I use pretty much every day, and it'll tell you based on your height, your weight, and so forth, how many calories you could eat a day in order to lose weight.
Yeah, they got
they
got a thing, you take the picture of the food and it tells
exactly. Yeah, you can take a picture of the food,
Yeah.
you could scan the barcode if it's packaged food. It'll tell you exactly that, and you could keep eating through the day, and once you hit your limit, you stop. And you'll see the day after day, you'll start losing weight.
Right.
If you go over that calorie count, you'll gain weight.
Right.
It's really that simple. Now, if you work out, you put that into the equation as well. So let's just say, for me, I'm about 2,000 calories, right? If I burn 500 calories in a workout, I could eat 2,500 calories that day and still lose weight. But if I eat 3,000 calories, even if I work out, I'll gain weight.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. You could work out, you could do whatever, but it really, really, really comes down to calorie intake. So if you want to keep hitting up buffets and keep ordering sundaes and all this other type of stuff, doesn't matter how far, how long you're in the gym or how many personal trainers you have, you will keep gaining weight.
And I'm sure bro, I was fucking eating food in Europe, and you don't feel, you can eat and then want to eat right after. The food over there is different. Like, you don't gain nothing. Like, just tastes so pure over there. But it was a fucking amazing trip, bro. It was awesome.
I'm glad, man. I think everyone should travel internationally because they'll give you a better perspective about where you live. Like once you start seeing other cultures, other people, you start seeing the similarities, you also start noticing the differences.
Right.
And it gives you a better perspective and an appreciation about where you actually come home to. And, you know, you meet people that haven't, you know, and you and I both know people like this that really haven't traveled at all.
Right.
That haven't left their own cities, that are just too scared or insecure to go outside and experience new things. But at the end of the day, we're not trees. We can move around.
Yeah.
We could go to different cities. Like all these rappers who I've begged to move out of their cities who just, they're too comfortable being where they are and they end up, you know, getting killed in their own cities. All they had to do was move. All they had to do was set up shop somewhere else. And when you see all the most successful rappers, most times they have gone to live somewhere else. Boosie doesn't live in Baton Rouge, he lives in Atlanta. Lil Durk, you know, granted he got caught up in some other shit, but he was living in Chicago. He was living in Atlanta as well.
And you know who motivates the fuck out of me that I gotta shout out? Tony Yayo. Passport Boys. You know what I mean? He was even jumping in my comments, and you know, it's just like when you get to travel and when you get to experience different things and leave the hood and leave whatever you're used to, you see how much world there is, and it just it gives you that sense of adventure you had when you were a kid, like your first time exploring the woods or an abandoned house, and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck is this? You go to another country and you get that same feeling, and then you remember how big the world is and how much shit there is to do.
And you realize how old the world is.
Yeah.
Because America is relatively new.
Yeah.
A couple 100 years old. You know, I grew up in the West Coast. I remember starting, you know, when I was going to New York, I'm like, damn, Manhattan is pretty old. Wall Street, Harlem, these are structures that you don't see in California. And then you go to Europe and you're like, oh, goddamn, it's even way older here. And then you go to the Middle East and you're like, oh, shit. Now we're talking about thousands of years old.
Yeah, this is where shit started at. Fucking.
This is where shit started at. You know, I remember the first time I went to Israel and we had a tour guide. It's like, okay, you know, in the Bible, when they said that so-and-so went over here, that's that hill right there.
Yeah.
And then he went to the structure. Yeah, that's behind us right now. That's the castle that he's talking about. And you're like, oh, goddamn. This is biblical shit.
Yeah.
This is 2,000 years old. This is more than 2,000 years old, in fact.
Yeah.
You know, because you're talking about Jesus died 2,000 years ago. You're talking about the Old Testament. This is like 3,000 years old. So, yeah, man, it gives you better perspective. If you haven't traveled and you're watching this, it doesn't cost that much to travel. Save up, get some discount tickets, find some, you know, discount hotels, even stay in a hostel if you have to. You know, like a youth hostel where you know, share a room with some other students or whatever else. Make it work because you'll come back a totally better person.
Right.
Not even a different person. You'll come back as a better person. You know, and you got to experience that for the first time. I think it's dope.
Definitely.
That's what it is. 1090 Jake. Until next time. Peace.